Chapter 1232. At this moment, in front of the Divine Dragon Palace, there was silence. Tens of thousands of dragons gathered in front of the Divine Dragon Palace, but none of them were stirred up. The Dragon Clan leader, Dragon God Jiuxia Divine Dragon. At this moment, Jiuxia Divine Dragon's face was extremely gloomy and ugly. The reason for that was because he now knew exactly who had sealed the Dragon Clan. Tian Dao, an unparalleled super expert. Jiuxia Divine Dragon knew very well that even if the 10 direction cauldrons all attacked, they would not be a match for Tian Dao. Unless the marvelous mathematician took action personally. But Tian Dao dared to do so. How could the marvelous mathematician not know? There was no doubt that Tian Dao sealed the Dragon Clan. Even the Long family could not do anything. In other words, the Dragon Clan at this moment was like a turtle in a jar. As long as Tian Dao was willing, he could destroy the Dragon Clan at any time. It was hard to speak. Jiuxia Divine Dragon did not know what to say. Could he tell his clan that the Dragon Clan was in danger, and their life and death were controlled by Tian Dao? It was impossible. Clan leader? The elder behind him asked in a low voice. Nodding, Jiuxia Divine Dragon coughed twice and said, "I am sorry, everyone. Just a few days ago, our Dragon Clan was sealed. Clan leader, what is going on? Why were we sealed for no reason? Clan leader, give us an explanation." With a helpless sigh, Jiuxia Divine Dragon said helplessly, "I will give you an explanation later." Explanation? Just you?" Hearing this, everyone looked not far away. A young man in black with long red hair was slowly walking towards the Divine Dragon Palace. The young man was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already beside Jiuxia Divine Dragon. Seeing the young man, all the dragons were very curious. Only Jiuxia Divine Dragon was very shocked. He did not know that the Dragon Clan was sealed. How did Longao enter the Dragon Clan? Longao, how did you get in? Jiuxia Divine Dragon, since you are not bad, hand over the position of clan leader. Longao did not answer, but went straight to the point. No matter what, he entered the Dragon Clan this time to help Long Chang take over the Dragon Clan. Because of this, he did not want to waste any more time. Longao, what do you mean? Hearing Longao's words, Nine Firmament's Divine Dragon was a little surprised. The other dragons were also very surprised. Before Longao could speak, a mysterious voice suddenly appeared in his mind. His expression changed again. Longao did not say a word. All the dragons glared at him. Layers upon layers of dragon breath stacked on top of each other. If it were an ordinary person, they would have wet their pants by now. However, Longao, who possessed the aura of heaven and earth, completely ignored it. Longao. Just as the Heavenly Divine Dragon was about to ask, Longao suddenly said, "Heavenly Divine Dragon, I came here this time mainly to deliver the Divine Dragon Pearl to the Dragon Clan." Divine Dragon Pearl? Hearing the 3 words Divine Dragon Pearl, all the huge dragons were completely stunned. This was because all the huge dragons knew very well what the Divine Dragon Pearl meant. All along, the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon was not considered a true dragon god. The real reason was that the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon did not obtain the Divine Dragon Pearl. Until now, the whereabouts of the Divine Dragon Pearl were unknown. The 9 Heavens Divine Dragon was very excited. Ever since he became the leader of the Dragon Clan, he had been very depressed. It was because he did not obtain the Divine Dragon Pearl that he was not considered a true dragon god. Longao, where is it? Wait. Longao was very reluctant to hand over the Divine Dragon Pearl. However, things had already come to this point. He could only put forward a few conditions. He went straight to the point. I will find the Divine Dragon Pearl for the Dragon Clan. In exchange, the Dragon Clan will agree to 3 conditions. It's not too much, right? Longao was no longer a disciple of the Long family and had nothing to do with the Dragon Clan. If it was an ordinary thing, the Dragon Clan would definitely not agree. However, the importance of the Divine Dragon Pearl was self-evident. Nodding, In order to obtain the divine dragon pearl, not to mention 3 conditions, even if it was 30 or 300 conditions, the 9 heavens divine dragon would agree. This was because the 9 heavens divine dragon was very clear that once he fused and refined the divine dragon pearl, not only would he become a true dragon god, but his strength would also increase greatly. Please speak. My 3 conditions are very simple. First, my dragon sect will also establish a dragon clan in the future. However, we can stay out of each other's way. How about that? The 9 heavens divine dragon and the other dragons' faces were very ugly. If the dragon clan was to be rebuilt, then where would the dragon clan's dignity go? If such a thing were to spread, they would probably be laughed to death by the mainland. Without caring about anyone else, Longao continued. Second, once the Long family and I start a war, the dragon clan is not allowed to interfere. Before the 9 heavens divine dragon could speak, Longao said, the last condition is that I need to enter the draconic arcane realm. It could be said that the 3 conditions that Longao proposed were all extremely difficult, especially the last one. The draconic arcane realm was a forbidden area of the dragon clan. Other than the dragon god of each generation, no one had the right to enter the draconic arcane realm. All the dragons stopped talking and looked at the 9 heavens divine dragon. Although the 9 heavens divine dragon did not fuse with the divine dragon pearl, he was still the leader of the dragon clan. All the decisions were in the hands of the 9 heavens divine dragon. I'll tell you later. Later? Longao sneered in his heart. He had already made the biggest concession, but the other party was still unwilling. He really did not know what was good for him. Longao did not give the 9 heavens divine dragon any time to think and immediately said, 3 minutes. Promise me, the divine dragon pearl is yours. If you don't, I'll turn around and leave immediately. However, the divine dragon pearl will belong to me in the future. Oh right, are you going to deal with me? So that you can keep me here? All the dragons, including the 9 heavens divine dragon and the many elders, stared at the young man in front of them. The more shocked Longao was, the more uncertain they were. After all, this person could enter the dragon clan quietly, and it was a sealed dragon clan. This in itself was enough to explain everything. If they could not keep him here and the divine dragon pearl disappeared, it would be extremely difficult for the dragon clan to find the divine dragon pearl again. Why don't you give it a try? Longao's strong confidence in dealing with the 9 heavens divine dragon and the others did not have full confidence. All the dragons looked at each other. They did not know what gave Longao such confidence. He dared to behave so atrociously in the dragon clan. For thousands of years, such a thing had never happened before. Longao, as long as you take out the divine dragon pearl, I can agree to the 3 conditions you just mentioned. After thinking about it, the 9 heavens divine dragon agreed in the end. Because in his opinion, and even in the eyes of the entire dragon clan, the divine dragon pearl was better than everything. They could not afford to lose. Even if there was a 95% chance of winning, they could not afford to lose. The divine dragon pearl had appeared with great difficulty. If they continued to lose it like this, how could they explain it to the ancestors of the dragon clan? All the dragons did not speak. They seemed to understand the difficulties of the patriarch. Chapter 1233. Blood Oath. Longao was not a fool. If the 9 firmaments divine dragon went back on his word, how could he reason with him? That was why Longao thought of making a blood oath. He knew very well that once the 9 firmaments divine dragon made a blood oath, it would be a done deal. The 9 firmaments divine dragon's face was extremely gloomy. However, in order to obtain the divine dragon pearl, the 9 firmaments divine dragon made a blood oath obediently. The 9 firmaments divine dragon was very anxious, even a little impatient. After sending away all his clansmen, he immediately brought Longao into the divine dragon palace and asked straightforwardly, "Where is the divine dragon pearl?" Since things had already come to this point, Longao did not continue to hesitate. He took out the divine dragon pearl and said, "I want to enter the divine dragon arcane realm immediately." Taking the divine dragon pearl, the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon said with a smile. Longao, seeing that you helped the Dragon Clan find the Divine Dragon Pearl, let me remind you that not everyone can enter the Divine Dragon Arcane Realm, unless it's a dragon god who has fused with the Divine Dragon Pearl. How could Longao not know about this? You don't have to worry about this. Alright, I'll make the arrangements now. You can enter the Divine Dragon Arcane Realm tomorrow. Next, Longao was arranged to stay in a very secluded side hall without any disturbances. As for the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon, there was no doubt that he had gone to fuse with the Divine Dragon Pearl. Once the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon fused with the Divine Dragon Pearl, he would become a real dragon god. Bai Ling, help me look after him. He gave Bai Ling a look. Seeing Bai Ling nod, Longao's soul entered the wordless heavenly book's space. According to Longao's intention, the purpose of entering the Dragon Clan this time was to help Long Chang subdue the Dragon Clan and develop the dragon's sex strength. But the result? Before he could make a move, a mysterious voice stopped him. The owner of the mysterious voice was none other than the owner of the wordless heavenly book. Longao still couldn't believe that he was the 100th reincarnation of the mysterious man. But every time he saw this young man who looked exactly like him, he felt a deep pain in his balls. Senior, what happened? Why do you want me to hand over the Divine Dragon Pearl? After thinking for a long time, Longao still couldn't figure out why the mysterious man wanted him to hand over the Divine Dragon Pearl, ruining the chance to subdue the Dragon Clan. Even Longao himself didn't believe that the mysterious man was willing to do so. Longao was very clear in his heart that if he handed over the Divine Dragon Pearl this time, wanting to subdue the Dragon Clan in the future was practically a dream. But in the end, Longao still chose to believe the mysterious man. Longao, your dragon companion doesn't belong to the Dragon Clan at all. Even if you forcefully fuse with the Divine Dragon Pearl, there won't be any benefits. What did that mean? Hearing the mysterious young man's words, Longao became even more curious. With your current strength, you're not qualified to know this, but I won't harm you. Just now, I forcefully took the Divine Dragon Pearl from the little guy's body. Remember, the little guy's background is not simple. You have to treat the little guy well. Longao was extremely depressed. He had to hand over the Divine Dragon Pearl and give up on subduing the Dragon Clan with just a sentence for no reason. No matter who it was, he believed that no one would be willing to do so. Longao didn't ask further because he knew that if the mysterious young man didn't want to say, no matter how he asked, he believed that the other party wouldn't say anything. If the other party wanted to say something, there was no need for him to ask. Since it had already happened, he could only take one step at a time. Although he lost the Divine Dragon Pearl, he could enter the Draconic Arcane Realm. It was like losing a watermelon for a sesame seed. Longao had also heard about the Draconic Arcane Realm. The Draconic Arcane Realm was a forbidden area of the Dragon Clan. No one was allowed to enter unless they were the clan leader of the Dragon Clan, which was the so-called Dragon God. Under normal circumstances, as the clan leader of the Dragon Clan, the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon should be able to enter the Divine Dragon Arcane Realm. However, because the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon didn't integrate with the Divine Dragon Pearl, he wasn't considered a true dragon god and couldn't enter the Draconic Arcane Realm. As for what was in the Divine Dragon Arcane Realm, even Longao didn't know. According to the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon, he could enter the Draconic Arcane Realm tomorrow. Longao gave the Divine Dragon Pearl away, but Long Chang didn't say much. In Long Chang's opinion, everything that his big brother did was right. At night, the stars in the sky shone brightly. Longao sat alone in the courtyard of the side palace, looking at the stars in the sky. No one would have thought that Longao could enter the sealed dragon race without making a sound. In any case, the dragon race was sealed by the heavenly Tao. Unless the divine mathematician came in person, who else could enter the Origin Chi shield? Not to mention ordinary people, even Tong Tiandi and the others wouldn't be able to enter the Dragon Clan. Not to mention, the current Dragon Clan was like a porcupine. Not to mention others, even the Long family that shared the same hatred as the Dragon clan was unwilling to touch or provoke the so-called heavenly axiom. The heavenly axiom's strength was there for all to see, unless they were tired of living. Master, the Draconic Arcane Realm contains the treasures left behind by the old master. As long as you can enter, I believe your innate divine ability will continue to evolve. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was overjoyed. He knew very well what it meant for his innate divine ability to evolve. It meant that it would evolve 3 times. During the previous 2 evolutions, his innate divine ability Dragon Roar had become much more powerful, and even had the ability to devour. It was impossible to not be tempted. Even Longao couldn't resist this temptation. Others might not know what was in the Draconic Arcane Realm, but Longao knew very well. Long Fu definitely knew very well. Otherwise, Long Fu wouldn't have let him choose to enter the Draconic Arcane Realm. Long Fu, other than allowing my innate divine ability to evolve, is there anything else in the Draconic Arcane Realm? Longao was more or less unwilling to give up. After all, the Divine Dragon Pearl could subdue the Dragon clan. If he handed it over and couldn't get anything back, how could he be satisfied? Master, I've only entered the Draconic Arcane Realm 3 times. According to the rumors, the Draconic Arcane Realm can only be entered 3 times, even for the Dragon God. Therefore, the old master didn't enter the Draconic Arcane Realm after the 3rd time. Longao wasn't a fool. He knew very well that Long Fu didn't want to say more. Otherwise, Long Fu wouldn't have changed the topic. Moreover, whether or not he entered the Draconic Arcane Realm a few times had nothing to do with him. After all, he didn't know if he could enter the Draconic Arcane Realm again in the future. Long Fu didn't want to say, and Longao didn't continue to ask. He wanted to find out what was in the Draconic Arcane Realm. Everything would be clear once he entered. With a flash, the figure of the 9 Firmaments Divine Dragon appeared. Looking at the tall figure in front of him, Longao wasn't surprised at all. He seemed to have guessed that the 9 Firmaments Divine Dragon would come looking for him tonight. As expected, the 9 Firmaments Divine Dragon really came. Chapter 1234. Clan Leader. Since he had already chosen to hand over the Divine Dragon Pearl, Longao did not continue to dwell on it. Longao, I've already discussed with the elders. You can enter the Draconic Arcane Realm tomorrow, but only once. He nodded. Longao did not think of entering the Draconic Arcane Realm a 2nd time. He knew clearly that opportunities were obtained by the Fated Ones. If he could not obtain it the 1st time he entered the Draconic Arcane Realm, then the 2nd and 3rd time would be useless. Longao, I want to ask, where did you get the Divine Dragon Pearl? He sneered in his heart. Longao had already guessed that the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon would definitely ask him this question. I hope you don't know about this. Otherwise, it won't benefit you or the Dragon clan at all. The more Longao acted like this, the more the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon wanted to know. The Divine Dragon Pearl, as the supreme treasure of the Dragon clan, had been missing for so many years. The 9 Heavens Divine Dragon vaguely remembered that the previous Dragon God died tragically because he could not find the Divine Dragon Pearl. That was why he wanted to know where the Divine Dragon Pearl was. Intuition told the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon that this matter was definitely not simple. Longao, as long as you tell me about this matter, I'll remember it. Longao thought for a while and seemed to have something that was hard to say. In the end, he could not help but say it. Clan Leader, I believe you should know that I used to be a disciple of the Long family. The 9 Heavens Divine Dragon nodded. Of course, he knew about this. Could it be that the Divine Dragon Pearl was related to the Long family? Since things have come to this, I'll get straight to the point. Previously, I entered the Long family and obtained the Divine Dragon Pearl from the Long family. Longao did not continue speaking. The meaning of his words was already very clear. Longao also knew that his words had already reached this point. He believed that the 9 Firmaments Divine Dragon had already understood. As expected. Hearing this, the 9 Firmaments Divine Dragon's face instantly turned cold and gloomy. The heavenly divine dragon was not a fool, he was very clear about the meaning of Longao's words. From the beginning to the end, the heavenly divine dragon did not have the slightest doubt. After all, he had already obtained the divine dragon pearl, so there was no need for Longao to lie. I understand. Goodbye. The 9 firmaments divine dragon turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, his body had disappeared without a trace. Looking at the figure that had already disappeared, the corner of Longao's mouth sneered. Longao's intention was very simple. He wanted to create a conflict between the Dragon clan and the Long family so that the two forces would start a war. At that time, either the Dragon clan nor the Long family would have the time to deal with him. From the beginning to the end, Longao had never believed in the Long family, much less the Dragon clan. This time, even if the 9 firmaments divine dragon did not deal with the Long family, the two superforces would definitely be estranged. Whether they could continue to work together against a common enemy in the future was really a problem. Furthermore, this time, the heavenly Tao had sealed the Dragon clan. Where was the Long family? According to the relationship between the two families, since the Dragon clan had been sealed, even if they knew that doing so would provoke the heavenly Tao, they believed that the Long family would not hesitate. But now, the Dragon clan had been sealed by the heavenly Tao for so many days. The Long family still did not have the slightest indication. It was impossible for the entire Dragon clan to not have the slightest bit of resentment. Brother Long, if you do this, once the Long family and the Dragon clan start a war, wouldn't it give the other forces a chance? How could Longao not know what Bai Ling meant? The Sky Martial Continent was a tripod. The reason why the Long family was able to rise to the top of the 10 tripod, and was so powerful that no one dared to provoke them, was mainly because the Long family had the help of the Dragon clan. If the Long family lost the help of the Dragon clan, how could the Long family contend against the other 9 super forces alone? When the time came, the Long family would definitely be attacked by the other 9 super forces. Just as Bai Ling said, the Long family's destruction would not benefit him much. But if he did not do this, would it work? Bai Ling, I understand what you mean very well. If I don't do this, as long as this matter is over, the Long family will definitely think of ways to deal with me. Rather than that, I might as well strike first and gain the upper hand. As for whether the Long family can withstand it or not, it will depend on their luck. It has nothing to do with me. Longao did the right thing. Before Bai Ling could finish, Xiling had already said. Xiling admired Longao's actions and continued. Being kind to the enemy is the greatest cruelty to yourself. Bai Ling, you are very kind, but in this world where the strong are respected, we must not be soft-hearted. Bai Ling nodded and did not continue speaking. Xiling smiled and said, Longao, since you don't plan to subdue the Dragon clan, what do you plan to do after the Draconic Arcane Realm? What do I plan to do? Longao really did not think about this. Originally, he entered the Dragon clan this time to subdue the Dragon clan with the help of the God Dragon Pearl. But now that he had already handed over the God Dragon Pearl, it was impossible to subdue the Dragon clan. Let me think about it. It was a quiet night. The next day, Longao followed the 9 heavens godly dragon to the Dragon clan's forbidden area, which was also the so-called Draconic Arcane Realm. Longao, I have already forcefully opened the Draconic Arcane Realm. Go in yourself. He was very envious, but the 9 heavens godly dragon knew that he had already obtained the God Dragon Pearl. Once he refined and merged it, he could enter the Draconic Arcane Realm. In fact, the 9 heavens godly dragon was not worried at all. According to the rumors of the Dragon clan, no matter who it was, once they entered the Draconic Arcane Realm, they would be killed unless the dragon god entered personally. Because of this, in the 9 heavens godly dragon's opinion, once Longao entered the Draconic Arcane Realm, he would definitely die. How could Longao not know what the 9 heavens godly dragon meant? He sneered in his heart, and did not say anything else. With a stride, his entire body disappeared into the entrance passage. In front of the entrance, the 9 heavens godly dragon's expression was very ugly. It was not because he was worried about Longao's life, but because he was angry at the Long family. Until now, he had never thought that the person who hid the god dragon pearl would be from a Long family. The Nine Heavens godly dragon had already told the elders about this matter. They all agreed that even if it was a Long family, so what? Would the dragon clan really fall out with the Long family? In fact, in many people's hearts, they still did not quite believe it. Because of this, the Nine Heavens godly dragon and the elders unanimously decided to not talk about this matter for the time being. Once the seal was broken, they would personally go to the Long family and publicly explain this matter. It was still the same sentence. Unless it was a last resort, the dragon clan still did not want to fall out with the Long family. After all, doing so would not benefit anyone. Heavenly Axiom. Once he thought about the heavenly axiom sealing the dragon clan, the Nine Heavens godly dragon felt a deep sense of helplessness. Chapter 1235. Within the draconic mystic realm, the moment Longao stepped in, he saw a gigantic stone tablet before him. Dragon? Longao had not expected that there would be a lifelike black dragon carved on the stone tablet. The entire stone tablet was over 1,000 meters long. Although it was only a carving, Longao had a feeling that it was an aura of worship. Master, try to infuse your aura into the stone tablet. Nodding his head. Long Fu had entered the draconic arcane realm before, so he believed that he had a good understanding of the draconic arcane realm. Therefore, without any hesitation, Longao immediately released his aura and entered the stone tablet in front of him. Just as expected. The moment Longao's aura came into contact with the stone tablet, he could feel his body being shrouded by a majestic aura. Before Longao could react, he had already disappeared. Outside a desolate canyon, looking at the gigantic canyon before him, Longao felt a little depressed. He had a bad feeling about this. Looking from the outside, the entire canyon was filled with a red mist that rumbled endlessly. Since things had already come to this, Longao did not hesitate any longer. Immediately, he walked towards the canyon. Before long, he had already entered the canyon and disappeared without a trace. The moment he stepped into the canyon, Longao used his aura to force the surrounding red mist away. Just by looking in front of him, he was shocked. Bloodthirsty demon bats! At this moment, the skies above the canyon were filled with countless bloodthirsty demon bats. Looking over, there was no end to them. Who knew how many bloodthirsty demon bats were there? Longao did not know why such spirit beasts would appear in the draconic mystic realm. The dense swarm of bloodthirsty demon bats covered the entire sky. Before Longao could think of a solution, the countless bloodthirsty demon bats in the skies were already attacking Longao. Kacha, 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 kacha! Countless bloodthirsty demon bats let out cruel cries as they charged down from the skies at an extremely fast speed. Everyone knew that bloodlust demonic bats lived in groups. Once bitten by a bloodlust demonic bat, it would only take a few minutes for a person to become a dried corpse. F***ck! He cursed fiercely. Longao knew how dangerous his situation was. The bloodgorger bats were attacking him from all directions. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Once he was bitten, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao did not dare to be careless. Countless bloodthirsty demon bats attacked at the same time, and the power was comparable to the attack of a Nirvana realm martial artist. The chi of heaven and earth pressed down. The god-slaying sword in Longao's hand also swung out fiercely. The 100-feet-long sword chi was like thunder from the 9 heavens. Wherever it passed, the bloodthirsty demon bats did not have the slightest chance of survival. All of them turned into corpses and fell down. No matter how powerful the sword chi was, there were simply too many demonic bloodthirsty bats. Under such circumstances, Longao would only be able to unleash 3 sword strikes at most. What should he do? The 9 bloodthirsty flying daggers flew out at the same time. As they spun, the god-slaying sword chi also wildly slashed at the bloodthirsty demon bats. Longao retreated step by step. However, there were bloodthirsty demon bats everywhere in the canyon. No matter which direction he chose, it was difficult to leave successfully. In the blink of an eye, the bloodthirsty demon bats had already attacked. The power of an individual bloodthirsty demon bat was not very strong. If it was a one-on-one battle, with Longao's strength, he could kill as many as he wanted. However, the bloodthirsty demon bats did not attack individually, but in a group battle. As such, the situation was troublesome. Longao directly used his self-created martial technique, Heaven and Earth Annihilation. His entire body began to spin. A huge suspended space appeared and instantly enveloped many bloodthirsty demon bats. Within the huge tornado, Longao could be said to be like a tiger that had grown wings. Borrowing the power of the God-slaying sword, rays of God-slaying sword, she continuously swept across the bloodthirsty demon bats in the tornado. However, Longao knew very well that it was not a way to go on. The bloodthirsty demon bats in the tornado were easy to deal with, but what about the army of bloodthirsty demon bats outside? Tens of thousands of bloodthirsty demon bats. Not to mention fighting, just hearing about it was a little terrifying. Longao had already sensed the spatial fluctuations. He did not need to try to enter the dragon seal space or use spatial teleportation. He already knew that the spatial fluctuations had been disturbed. It was really troublesome. Longao's speed was very fast. In just a few seconds he had already wiped out all the bloodthirsty demon bats in the tornado. Not a single one was left. Longao more or less breathed a sigh of relief. With Heaven and Earth Annihilation, it was difficult for the bloodthirsty demon bats outside to enter the tornado. However, it was not a way to go on. "Brother Long, let me help you." No. It was not that Longao did not need Bai Ling's help. No matter what, Bai Ling's strength was there for all to see. She could defeat any supreme Dao warrior. However, there were too many bloodthirsty demon bats outside. If something happened to Bai Ling, how would he deal with it? "Brother Long, relying on your strength alone, it is very difficult to destroy the army of bloodthirsty demon bats outside." How could Longao not know what Bai Ling meant? However, it was still the same sentence. For Bai Ling's safety, no matter what, he could not let Bai Ling take action. "Bai Ling, you are not allowed to interfere in this matter. Otherwise, I will not forgive you." Chapter 1236. The 10 great corpse slaves surrounded Longao. Longao did not continue to counterattack, but his eyes constantly scanned the surrounding Bloodgorger bats. The Bloodgorger Bat Emperor. According to what Xiling said, as long as he could eliminate the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor, then the countless Bloodgorger bats around would naturally disappear automatically. If it was an ordinary person, it would be easier said than done to find the commander among thousands of troops. But for Longao, this was not very difficult. His aura covered the surroundings, and in just a few minutes, Longao had already locked onto the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor's position. Spirit Focus Realm? Sensing the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor's true strength, Longao was a little surprised. Longao originally thought that the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor's strength should at least be in the Supreme Path Realm, but he never thought that the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor was only in the Spirit Focus Realm. He let out a long sigh of relief. Just the Spirit Focus Realm, Longao had full confidence that with his strength, dealing with a Spirit Focus beast was more than enough. Step by step, Longao was very clear that he had to hit the target with one hit, otherwise, it would be even more difficult to kill the opponent next time. Longao did not rush up alone. There were endless Bloodgorger bats around, wanting to approach the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor. Was it possible? It was exactly so. Longao used the 10 Elder Corpse slaves around him to rush towards the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor at the fastest speed. Half an hour later, the number of Bloodgorger bats was simply too many. Even with Longao's speed, it still took a full hour to finally reach the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor's side with great difficulty. Longao spent a lot of effort to force out the Bloodgorger bats around him. Then, the 10 Elder Corpse slaves surrounded the two of them. Longao had already decided to prepare to kill the Bloodgorger Bat Emperor alone. Facing the Bloodgorger Bat, Longao calmed down instead. The Bloodgorger bat was always a spirit-focused beast. The slightest negligence, the consequences would be unimaginable. Kill! The god-slaying sword in Longao's hand slashed out, and the overbearing god-slaying sword she shot towards the Bloodgorger bat. He originally thought that killing the Bloodgorger bat would be very difficult, but in the end, Longao stood rooted to the ground in a daze, not knowing what had just happened. The bloodthirsty demon bat emperor did not have any resistance at all, and was directly killed by the god-slaying sword chi. This was the strength of the god-slaying sword chi. It was completely impossible. Following the fall of the bloodthirsty fiend bat emperor, all the bloodthirsty fiend bats in the surroundings disappeared. Just now, before Longao could react, an earth-shattering roar suddenly resounded throughout the canyon. At the same time as the dragon's roar sounded, a golden dragon suddenly appeared. Circling in the canyon, the golden dragon looked like a huge mountain. It was a terrifying sight to behold. What kind of place had he entered? Was this the draconic arcane realm? Master, if you want to evolve your innate divine ability, you have to devour the divine soul of the golden dragon in front of you. Both of them were divine beasts. Although Longao was very fearful in his heart, he was not very worried about a real battle. There was a difference of one level between virtual god and god-slaying beasts. To others, this level was an insurmountable gap. But to Longao, god-slaying beasts were not too strong. The golden dragon kept roaring, and its body emitted a god-slaying beasts. One had to know that the biggest difference between virtual god and god-slaying beasts was the so-called god-slaying beasts. However, Longao chose to ignore it, and released his god-slaying beasts as well. Longao's god-slaying beasts was very unique. It had dual attributes, slaughter and thunder. In other words, the dual attribute god-slaying beasts released by Longao was not much weaker than the god-slaying beasts in terms of power. As such, the golden dragon wanted to use the god-slaying beasts to kill Longao was simply a fool's dream. Shameless human, I will kill you today. With just you? Longao retracted his god-slaying sword and formed hand seals with both hands. A horrifying aura burst forth. It was the destruction seal. Ever since he knew that there was only one seal for the destruction seal, Longao had rarely used it. The reason was simple. The destruction seal was meant to be used head-on. If there was a huge disparity in strength, there was no advantage to using it. In fact, one might even end up worse off. The horrifying aura of the destruction seal was enough to crush the golden dragon. I'll smash you to death. Longao did not use any killing moves. The destruction seal was already suppressing the golden dragon fiercely. At this moment, Longao's body had already arrived beside the golden dragon. God Dragon Fist. Hell Tiger Fist. Borrowing the strength of the two little fellas, Longao punched out one punch after another on the golden dragon's body. Boom! Boom! Within the dragon race, the golden dragon's physical body was extremely strong. But even so, every single punch of Longao's was able to cause the golden dragon's skin to split open. Being smashed by a puny human had the golden dragon enraged to the extreme. Roaring into the skies, the golden dragon's gigantic tail swept out domineeringly, smashing towards Longao. The gigantic tail smashed towards Longao with a horrifying force. If Longao were to be struck by the tail, even if he had the same desolate body, he wouldn't be able to withstand it. Even if he wasn't smashed into a meat patty, he would definitely be torn into pieces. Looking at the gigantic tail smashing towards him, Longao did not dare to take it head-on. That was because he knew clearly in his heart that if he were to take it head-on, there was no way his physical body could compete with the golden dragon's. Turning around, Longao dodged swiftly. Not missing out on this golden opportunity, he grabbed hold of it and punched out with both fists, piercing the golden dragon's tail accurately. An angry dragon roar sounded. After being hit by the two fists, the golden dragon roared angrily at the sky again. The whole world seemed to tremble. This was the power of the golden dragon. It was too terrifying. Although Longao couldn't use spatial teleportation, his speed was extremely fast. Although the Golden Dragon's physical defense and attack power were strong, its speed was not as fast as Longao's. It was obviously at a disadvantage. At this moment, the Golden Dragon was covered in blood. If others were to see this situation, they would probably be scared to death. Shameless human! Shameless? Longao sneered in his heart. The Golden Dragon's state of mind had been completely disrupted by him. There was almost no suspense in this battle. It was only a matter of time before he defeated the Golden Dragon. However, Longao did not give the Golden Dragon any time to breathe. He continued to punch the Golden Dragon's body, one punch after another. The Golden Dragon's scales fell, piece by piece. It was a spectacular sight. The Golden Dragon also knew that it couldn't catch up with its speed. It had no choice but to attack in a large area. The entire canyon shook violently as if there was an earthquake. Firmament devouring art. At the same time that Longao used the firmament devouring art, a gigantic black vortex appeared behind him and began to spin wildly. Chapter 1237. The firmament devouring art devoured the divine soul of the Golden Dragon. According to Long Fu, he had to devour the divine soul of the Golden Dragon if he wanted to evolve his divine ability for the third time. Roar! The dragon roared furiously. Of course, the Golden Dragon knew what Longao wanted to do. It didn't dare to be careless and clawed at Longao. Things had already reached this point. Longao was already full of confidence. Sword Force. The terrifying sword chi merged with the sword force and split the Golden Dragon into several pieces. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Longao started to devour the divine soul of the Golden Dragon with the help of the firmament devouring art. The black vortex behind Longao had successfully devoured the divine soul of the Golden Dragon. He heaved a sigh of relief. Master, strike while the iron is hot. He nodded. Longao was very clear about Long Fu's intentions, and immediately began to transform his innate ability. His bloodline was sealed and it was impossible to awaken it. The previous two awakenings were only on the surface. Even so, the divine ability Dragon Roar was still very powerful. He sat down cross-legged. Longao quietly evolved his divine ability. As for Long Fu and Bai Ling, they guarded him. The canyon was very strange. First, the bloodthirsty demonic Bat Clan appeared. Then, the Golden Dragon appeared. Who knew what else would appear next? Just in case, Bai Ling and Long Fu guarded Longao, hoping that he could successfully evolve his divine ability. Time passed bit by bit. After a long time, Longao slowly opened his eyes. He sighed and felt helpless. He thought that he could evolve his divine ability for the third time this time, but it still ended in failure. Master, you failed? Longao nodded and said honestly. Yes, just now when I refined the divine soul of the giant Golden Dragon, my innate ability rejected it. Seems like it's still a problem with Master's bloodline. Unless you awaken your bloodline, your divine ability will stop here. Regarding the meaning of what Long Fu said, Longao already guessed it. Bloodline. His bloodline had yet to break through the seal. It could be said that his bloodline had yet to truly awaken. Although he was more or less unwilling in his heart, Longao also knew that everything could not be forced, especially the matter of the transformation of the innate magical power. If the bloodline wanted to break the seal, now was not the time. He took a deep breath. Without continuing to dwell on this issue, Longao stood up and began to observe his surroundings. Ever since they stepped into the canyon, they had no chance to observe the situation. He couldn't see the end of the canyon. The entire canyon was filled with red fog. Even though he knew that there was still danger ahead, Longao continued to move forward without hesitation. If he was afraid of danger, he would not have entered the draconic arcane realm. Long Fu, the transformation of my innate ability has failed. What should I do now? Long Fu had entered the draconic arcane realm 3 times, so he believed that Long Fu was very familiar with it. Master, there are endless opportunities in the Draconic Arcane Realm. Back then, Old Master entered the Draconic Arcane Realm 3 times, and only on the last time did he obtain a great opportunity. He did not continue asking. Longao knew very well that whatever Long Fu wanted to say, he did not need to ask. Long Fu would say it anyway. The opportunities were endless, and Long Tian had only found his opportunity 3 times. That was enough. Longao began to run. Although he was not attacked by the Bloodgorger bat and the Golden Dragon, he still realized that he could not enter the Dragon Seal's space and teleport. However, he could communicate with Long Fu, Bai Ling, and Xiling. Longao's speed was very fast. If the canyon was not big enough, with his speed, he could reach the end in at most 10 minutes. But what was the result? Longao had been running for about an hour, but he still had not reached the end of the canyon. What was going on? The canyon was too mysterious and strange. Longao did not dare to be careless. He was vigilant of the surrounding canyon. Longao's speed slowed down. Step by step he advanced step by step. Could it be that he had entered an illusion array? Shaking his head, Longao already had high attainments in arrays. He could feel that the canyon was not an illusion array. If that was the case, then the canyon was too big. Master, be careful. Brother Long, don't go any further. I just sensed a terrifying aura in front of the canyon. It seems to be Nirvana Realm aura. Eh? Nirvana Realm aura. Didn't that mean that there was a Nirvana Realm warrior in front of the canyon? Although he knew that there was danger ahead, Longao did not have any intention of stopping. After all, things had already come to this point. He could not just turn around and walk back. Longao's speed had obviously slowed down. It was as if he was walking normally. After walking for an unknown period of time, the surrounding red mist began to dissipate. Then, a huge canyon appeared in front of Longao. At a glance, he could see the surrounding mountain walls. There was a huge blood pool in front of him. Blood bubbles were constantly rolling in it. When Longao first saw the blood pool, he was shocked. He thought that it was the remnant energy of the blood pool. After carefully sensing, he realized that the blood pool in front of him was not the remnant energy of the blood pool in the Dragon Seal space. Brother Long, the blood in the blood pool is dragon's blood. Nodding his head, Longao had already sensed that the blood in the blood pool was the so-called dragon's blood. Not only that, he could also clearly sense that the blood in the blood pool was not only dragon's blood, but also extremely powerful blood. The blood of the Nirvana Divine Dragon. Longao didn't know who could put the blood of the Nirvana Divine Dragon here. Could it be that the Nirvana Divine Dragon put the blood in the blood pool? That was impossible. Longao carefully walked to the side of the blood pool. Looking at the rolling blood bubbles, Longao knew what the Nirvana Divine Dragon's blood represented. If he could let Long Chang devour the blood in the blood pool, he believed that it would be of great help to Long Chang. Bai Ling, if I let Long Chang devour the blood in the blood pool, would that be okay? Bai Ling obviously knew what Longao meant. Before Bai Ling could speak, Xiling said, Longao, I advise you not to do that. I know what you mean. Long Chang's identity is not simple. If he forcefully devours the dragon's blood, there will be no benefits. With such powerful dragon's blood, you can completely integrate it into your corpse slave. I believe that your strength will increase by several folds. Integrate a corpse slave with dragon's blood? Longao did not even think about what Xiling said. After all, a corpse slave's body was very special. Whether or not it could be integrated with dragon's blood was not up to him, nor did Xiling. The only one who had the final say was the owner of the Dragon Seal, Long Fu. Long Fu, can the method Xiling just mentioned be done? Master, in theory it is possible. However, I am unable to do such a thing. Master, you must do it. Chapter 1238. As for Long Fu's intention, Longao already knew Longao's intention. Once the corpse slaves merged with the blood, he believed that their strength would increase by a lot. Among the corpse slaves that Longao had, including thousands of divine dragon corpse slaves. The most powerful ones were the 10 elders of the 9 Netherworld clan. He did as he said. Longao did not waste any time and immediately summoned the 10 corpse slaves from the dragon seal space. Go down! As corpse slaves, the 10 of them did not have the slightest consciousness and could only obey orders. The 10 corpse slaves obediently jumped into the blood pool, and there wasn't even a single ripple. Long Fu, there is a lot of blood in the blood pool. It seems that the 10 corpse slaves alone can't devour all the blood. The entire blood pool was extremely huge. According to Longao's estimation, it would take at least 10 giant dragons to fill the entire blood pool. Master, why don't you also enter the blood pool and absorb it? What do you mean? Longao knew that his bloodline was very powerful and the power of the dragon blood could not be underestimated. However, as a human, it seemed that it would be difficult for him to absorb the dragon blood. Otherwise, he would have had many opportunities. As for Long Chang, first of all, Long Chang's physique and background were there, so he could not casually absorb the dragon blood. Secondly, Long Chang had already absorbed 100 drops of dragon blood. With time, he believed that he would transform. Master, although your bloodline has not awakened, absorbing a large amount of dragon blood will be very useful for your defense. So that was it. At this moment, Xiling suddenly said, Longao, since you want to absorb the dragon blood in the blood pool, why don't you try to merge it with the sacred desolation body? Longao did not know what Xiling meant. It was simply a fool's dream to want to merge the dragon blood with the sacred desolation body. Longao, although your sacred desolation body is known as the #1 divine body, your strength is too weak. In a situation where there is a great disparity in strength, your sacred desolation body is almost useless. He nodded. Regarding this point, that purple spirit said, Longao deeply experienced it. Longao had full confidence in his own sacred body of desolation, but he also knew his own limitations. His sacred body of desolation could completely withstand the attacks of warriors of the same level, or even supreme divine path warriors, as long as it was not a continuous attack, but a single attack. But what if he met a Nirvana realm martial artist? Not to mention a Nirvana martial artist, even if it was a supreme down martial artist, under continuous attacks, he would also die without a doubt. Although the sacred body of desolation was powerful, it was not immortal. Just as he was about to use his power to resist, a black airflow appeared in the blood pool. In less than a few minutes, the entire blood pool was filled with countless black airflows. It also submerged Longao's body. This sudden state was too sudden. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not have time to react. A mysterious dark world. When Longao opened his eyes, he found that he was no longer in the blood pool, but in an extremely mysterious dark space. Where is this? Longao was very surprised in his heart. He did not know what the black stream of air that had just appeared was, and why he had appeared here perfectly fine. Before Longao could react, his eyes focused and he saw the sky-piercing steel in the distance. There were 4 big words written on it, Draconic Arcane Realm. Not only that, on the sky-piercing steel, there were tens of thousands of dragons. There were all kinds of dragons and they were very lifelike, as if they were flying. The sky-piercing steel with tens of thousands of dragons flying gave people a deep shock. Even Longao entered a magical state when he saw the dragons flying on the steel. Longao did not know that after he closed his eyes, a shocking scene appeared. The tens of thousands of dragons on the sky-piercing steel all disappeared. In the next second, they all appeared around Longao. Tens of thousands of dragons flew and surrounded Longao. If other people saw this, what kind of expression would they have? Shocking. The current scene could only be described with one word, which was shocking and unbelievable. As for Longao, he was completely in a magical state of enlightenment. In fact, Longao did not know that it was because he absorbed the dragon blood that he unintentionally entered the real draconic arcane realm. Chapter 1239. inside the god's slaying sword. Bai Ling had a worried look on her face because she still didn't know what was going on. They could only sense the situation outside but could not communicate with Longao. In other words, they could not do anything about whether Longao was in danger or not. Big sister, what happened? Looking at the worried face of her little sister beside her, no one knew that at this moment, Violet's spirit was also worried to the extreme. However, Xiling knew that she could not lose her composure since her sister was already in such a state. Otherwise, what would happen to her sister? Longao is fine. If I'm not wrong, this draconic arcane realm is unusual. Sister, what do you mean? She nodded. Xiling was also in disbelief, but she still nodded and said, That's right. This draconic arcane realm does not belong to the dragon tribe. Moreover, this person's strength is completely above the heavenly axiom. I'm afraid he's not much weaker than us. Hearing this, Bai Ling was shocked. The more shocked she was, the more worried Bai Ling was. Xiling let out a long sigh of relief and said, This person should be dead. I don't know if Longao's situation is good or bad. If he could learn from this person, he would be able to soar. Both Xiling and Bai Ling did not know about Longao's current situation. In the dark space, in front of the sky-piercing stone tablet, Longao closed his eyes tightly. Tens of thousands of dragons flew around him and danced continuously, surrounding Longao tightly. At this moment, an earth-shaking change was taking place in Longao's body. The dragon blood that he had just absorbed was continuously fusing with his body. It was also because of this that Longao's physical defense was soaring at a terrifying speed. Regarding this matter, it was believed that even Longao had never thought of it. Thousands of dragons flew around Longao. The scene was extremely shocking. Ah! At this moment, Longao roared in pain. His soul is really special. Even I can't devour it. A strange and sinister voice rang out. Immediately after, the 10,000 dragons disappeared and returned to the heaven-reaching stone steel. The 10,000 dragons were still soaring in the sky, looking extremely lifelike. Who are you? Opening his eyes, Longao stared at the stone tablet in front of him, especially the 10,000 soaring dragons on the stone tablet. Even now, Longao still felt a deep sense of fear. If it weren't for the wordless heavenly book, his soul would have been devoured by the mysterious man, and he would be doomed eternally. Ha 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 ha! A maniacal laughter was heard. Then, a white-haired old man appeared. He looked so weak that he could be blown away by a gust of wind. Even so, Longao didn't relax in the slightest because he knew very well that it was the person in front of him who had almost devoured his soul. It was hard to imagine how powerful this person was. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. Kid, are you scared? It's just a remnant soul. Hearing the other party's words, the old man was stunned. He hadn't expected that the other party would still dare to act this way even at this stage. This guy didn't even put him in his eyes. Ha ha! What an arrogant kid! Today, I'll show you the strength of a remnant soul. Lin Fan took 3 steps back. Longao was wary of this old man. His soul was nearly devoured earlier on. Even until now, he still had some lingering fear in his heart. Remnant soul, if it was an ordinary remnant soul, of course, Longao would not put it in his eyes, even if it was a supreme divine Tao remnant soul. But the old man in front of him, Longao had an intuition that the strength of the old man's original body was already above the nirvana realm. Could this old man be a powerful being at the peak of martial arts? Even though he knew that this was impossible, Longao still had a feeling. In the next second, a horrifying aura burst forth from the old man. This was the so-called source aura. Sensing this horrifying source aura, Longao was almost certain that this old man who had just devoured him was a powerful being at the peak of martial arts. He was at the same level as Heaven's will. He didn't dare to be careless. Longao also released a powerful aura from his body. This was the sword aura formed from the source aura. The source aura and the sword aura clashed fiercely, causing the surrounding space to fluctuate. The old man was shocked. he said in disbelief. Sorcerer! You're at the peak of martial arts? Impossible. The old man shook his head fiercely. He could clearly sense that Lin Fan was just a small anti-god realm martial artist. Not to mention the peak of martial arts. If that was the case, why did the aura released by Lin Fan contain the source aura? Don't think that you're invincible just because you have the source aura. I can tell you clearly that it's easy for me to kill you. Of course, Longao didn't have the source aura and it was impossible for him to release the source aura. The person who had released the sword aura wasn't Longao, but Xiling. With Xiling's strength, he might not be a match for the old man. However, in terms of the source aura, Xiling was definitely stronger than the old man. It was because of this that the remnant soul was extremely shocked. He couldn't believe what he saw. Staring at Lin Fan, the old man didn't continue to attack. It was better to be safe than sorry. In the old man's opinion, even if Lin Fan wasn't at the peak of martial arts, and was just an empty god realm martial artist, he didn't know what kind of territory Lin Fan had. If he was killed, it would be too late for regrets. Are you afraid? Longao asked back. The old man's remnant soul was embarrassed. He had the upper hand just now, but in just a few seconds, Lin Fan had gained the upper hand. I'm sorry. I still have things to do. I'll take my leave first. Longao knew that even if he, Xiling, and Bai Ling joined forces, they might not be Lin Fan's match. It wouldn't do him any good to stay. However, the old man snorted coldly and laughed coldly. I'd like to see how you're going to leave my territory. Just as he finished speaking, the old man's remnant soul disappeared without a trace. The entire pitch-black space was extremely creepy. Longao stood alone in the dark space. He did not wander around. Instead, he stared at the sky-piercing stone steel in front of him. Thousands of dragons danced in the sky. The words Draconic Arcane Realm were especially creepy. Shoo! 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 Just a few minutes after the old man disappeared, countless black skeletons appeared in the surroundings. Each of these black skeletons held a sharp black saber in their hands, emitting a cold gleam. Divine Tao. Sensing the sudden appearance of these black skeletons, Longao's heart sank. This was because these skeletons were all of Divine Tao state. In other words, these skeletons were like countless Divine Tao martial artists. Even though these black skeletons looked slow, they were actually extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they had already arrived before Longao. The sharp sabers in their hands were slashing towards him. Chapter 1240. Sharp blade auras came slashing from all directions crazily. Even if Longao had the holy body of desolation, it was impossible for him to take on the sharp sword gleams head-on. He could not enter the dragon seal space. Longao waved the god-slaying sword in his hand continuously. In just 10 seconds he had already set up a sword aura shield around him. Pung pung pung, countless sword gleams collided with the sword aura shield, letting out a series of banging sounds. The sword aura shield blocked the terrifying sword gleams, and Longao heaved a sigh of relief. But even so, Longao was very clear in his heart that if this continued, his strength would eventually be exhausted. When that time came, what should he do? Big Brother Long, don't block my energy. If it were any other time, or if Bai Ling were to attack personally, Longao would definitely not agree. Longao would rather be in danger than to put Bai Ling in danger. But at this time, Longao did not reject. In the next second, Bai Ling's energy entered Longao's body instantly, and the sword aura released by Longao doubled in power. Just now, the sword gleams collided with the sword aura shield. Based on the power of the sword gleams, it would take at most an hour to break through the sword aura shield. But now, Longao had Bai Ling's help, and the power of the sword chi shield had instantly increased by more than 1-fold. If that was the case, the sword aura shield released by Longao could block the sword gleams for more than 2 hours. But even so, this was not a long-term solution. Longao, leave towards the southeast. Hearing Xiling's words, Longao did not hesitate and immediately shot towards the southeast. Longao believed in Xiling's words. The sword aura shield was still covering Longao, and he left at the fastest speed possible. Ha ha ha, kid, you still want to leave? There was a burst of crazy laughter from within the sky-piercing stone tablet. The laughter was filled with disdain and contempt. Although the old man did not know why the other party had the origin energy, he was sure that the other party was only an empty god realm martial artist, and not a peak martial artist. If that was the case, then everything would be easy. Countless black skeletons chased after Longao crazily. The black skeletons seemed slow, but in fact, they were very fast. There were too many black skeletons in the surroundings. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of black skeletons. Southeast. There was a huge black whirlpool. According to Xiling, the black whirlpool. That was the case. Longao didn't even think about it and directly shot towards the black vortex. In the blink of an eye, Longao's body had already disappeared without a trace. Longao knew very well in his heart that if not for the purple spirit, to be able to find an exit within such a vast expanse of darkness would just be a fool's talk. Ha ha ha, kid, do you think you've left? Seeing Longao disappear into the black vortex, the old man's remnant soul appeared in front of the black vortex. The old man smiled coldly. It was as if everything was under his control now that Longao had left. Inside the black vortex, Longao's body had just rushed into the black vortex, and before he could react, his entire body was enveloped by a mysterious power. A few seconds later, he appeared in another dark space. The sky-reaching stone steel still had the words, "Draconic Arcane Realm," written on it, and it even had 10,000 dragons soaring. Ah! Looking at the sky-reaching steel in front of him, Longao was a little dumbfounded because he never expected that he would enter the same space as before after entering the black vortex. The only difference was that there was no so-called black skeleton in this dark space. Xiling, what happened? I don't know either. Let me try to sense it first. Xiling was a little surprised as well. Even Xiling did not expect that the entrance he sensed just now was not the entrance, but a re-entry into the dark space. Wait. What's wrong? Longao, this dark space is not the same dark space as before. Hearing Xiling's words, Longao was a little shocked. If it was not the same dark space as before, then what was going on? Without any hesitation, Longao immediately shot towards the southeast direction. Given the current situation, he only had one choice, which was to continue towards the southeast direction and enter the black vortex, hoping to leave the dark space. However, at this moment, the ground around him suddenly began to tremble, and countless black skeletons rushed towards Longao in a frenzy. Without any hesitation, Longao borrowed Bai Ling's power and immediately began to wave the god-slaying sword in his hand. While the sword energy formed an air shield, the sword energy also continuously swept across the black skeletons around him. Unfortunately, the defensive power of the black skeletons was too strong. Just one ray of sword chi was unable to split open the black skeletons, unless there were 2 or more rays of sword chi. There were even some black skeletons that required 3 or more rays of sword chi to break open. Boom! Countless black skeletons crazily attacked Longao. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. No matter how powerful Longao's sword energy shield was, it could not withstand the attacks of countless black skeletons. Finally, the black skeletons broke through the sword energy shield. It was a shock. However, Longao was still calm. He did not panic because the sword energy shield had been broken. With the god-slaying sword in his hand, he continued to sweep the black skeletons around him. Sword after sword, sword after sword, it did not stop breaking. Even so, Longao was gradually unable to withstand the attacks. The black skeletons around him instantly disappeared without a trace. Although he knew that the other party was very strong, in Longao's view, the other party was still a remnant soul. As long as it was a remnant soul, he would have a way to deal with it. If it really didn't work, then he could only use the power of the blood pool. Although Longao could not enter the dragon seal space, he could communicate with Long Fu and use the power of the blood pool. However, unless it was a last resort, he would not casually use the blood pool. The reason was simple. Longao had used the blood pool a few times, and every time, he would be able to avert danger. However, Longao knew that his luck wouldn't be that good forever. If the blood pool devoured him, then he would only be a killing tool in the future. A killing tool of the blood pool. However, Longao had already decided that if there was a moment of life and death, he could only use the power of the blood pool. After all, if he used the power of the blood pool, then there was still a chance of survival. If he didn't use the power of the blood pool, then there would only be one outcome, which was death. Longao's speed was very fast. Even with the black skeletons hindering him, Longao still shot towards the heaven-piercing stone tablet at a terrifying speed. Around 10 minutes later, Longao finally arrived in front of the heaven-piercing stone tablet after going through untold hardships. "Do you think you can survive like this?" From the beginning to the end, the old man's remnant soul did not put Longao in his eyes. In his opinion, Longao was only able to release his origin aura. In essence, Longao was still a puny empty god realm martial artist. Even if he was a remnant soul, he could still easily eliminate Longao. Because of this, the old man's remnant soul was not worried at all. He stood quietly in front of the heaven-piercing stone tablet. Since the black skeletons did not kill Longao, then the task would be left to him. Longao and the old man's remnant soul had just exchanged blows when he was struck. As expected, Longao could confirm that the old man's strength should be at the peak of the martial Tao. Even if he was a remnant soul, he believed that he had the strength of a Nirvana realm expert. Such a super expert was not someone that he could contend against. Moreover, there was an endless stream of black skeletons coming from all directions. As the saying goes, there is a wolf in front and a tiger behind. This situation was extremely dangerous. If he was not careful, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 1241. The black skeletons behind him continued to attack. Longao coldly stared at the old man's remnant soul. He knew that if he didn't use the power of the blood pool, it would be impossible to kill the old man's remnant soul. But at this moment, just as Longao was about to use the blood pool, he felt a fluctuation in his dantian. Before waiting for Longao to react, a heaven-reaching steel already appeared. The sky-reaching stone steel was no longer the same as before. After the last fusion, the 2 Chaos Stone Tablets, the 5 Elements Chaos Stone Tablet, and the Devour Chaos Stone Tablet, had already fused together perfectly. Even now, Longao didn't know whether the fusion of the 2 Chaos Stone Tablets was a good or bad thing. The Chaos Tablet appeared. Looking at the stone tablet in front of him, not only Longao, but even the old man's remnant soul was shocked. Chaos Tablet? This is a Chaos Tablet? Looking at the stone tablet in front of him, the old man's remnant soul seemed to know the origins of the stone tablet. He didn't dare to move. Longao still had some hope in his heart. Because of the sudden appearance of the Chaos Tablet, perhaps it could help him kill the old man's remnant soul and destroy the black skeletons around him. But the result? What happened next completely shocked Longao. At the same time, the old man's remnant soul was also confused. Because the Chaos Tablet that just appeared only stayed in the dark space for 3 seconds before returning to Longao's dantian. Like a tourist, it came in a hurry and left in a hurry. What was going on? Longao was stunned. He thought that the Chaos Tablet could help him deal with the old man's remnant soul and the black skeletons around him. But he never thought that the Chaos Tablet would only appear for a few seconds. If that was the case, it might as well not appear. Ha ha ha, kid, I didn't think that you would have a Chaos Tablet in your body. That's great, that's great. A primal Chaos Stone Tablet was something that every martial artist yearned for even in their dreams. No matter who it was, they all wanted a Chaos Tablet. The reason was simple. There were rumors. There were a total of 12 chaos tablets in the world. No matter who it was, as long as they could obtain one of the chaos tablets, they could become a supreme powerful being in the world. And because of that, when the old man's remnant soul caught sight of the chaos tablet, he was so excited that he could not wait to get his hands on it. With just you? Looking at the shocked Longao, the old man's remnant soul's heart skipped a beat. However, the old man's remnant soul regained his composure quickly. What a joke! The other party was just a small void god martial artist, and there were countless black skeletons around. Ha ha! Ha ha! Suddenly, the old man's remnant soul laughed madly towards the sky. His laughter was filled with endless disdain and contempt. As far as he was concerned, the old man was just bluffing. Brat, I really admire your courage. Since that's the case, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the primal chaos stone tablet, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Hand over the primal chaos tablet? Longao laughed coldly in his heart. Even if he were to die, he would never hand over the chaos tablet. This wasn't to say that Longao wanted the item but not the person. It was just that Longao knew that even if he were to hand over the chaos tablet, he wouldn't be able to leave this place alive. Since that was the case, why should he hand it over? Kid, you're not willing? Longao shook his head and chuckled without replying. What are you laughing at? Looking at the other party laughing, the old man's remnant soul could not understand. Did the other party have something to rely on? I'll let you experience the true might of this. Looking at the old man who was looking down on him with disdain, Longao did not hesitate any longer. He immediately connected to the dragon seal space and prepared to use the power of the blood pool. Master, you must think this through. Once you use the power of the blood pool, even I won't be able to help you. In the worst-case scenario, you might just turn into a puppet of the blood pool. How could Longao not know of Long Fu's worries? However, since things had already reached this stage, Longao knew that he couldn't avoid it. In this battle, he could only win and not lose. Long Fu was very clear about Longao's personality. He only reminded him, and in the end, he still helped his master to activate the power of the blood pool. Just as the old man's remnant soul was about to attack, all of a sudden, an unparalleled bloody aura exploded from Longao's body. It instantly enveloped all the black puppets, and even the old man's remnant soul. Shocked, the old man's remnant soul was about to disappear. However, at this moment, the old man's remnant soul was horrified to find that his body could no longer move. He was locked in place by the bloody aura. Just what had happened? He looked at the young man in front of him in fear. From the beginning to the end, the old man's remnant soul did not know what had happened. Just a nihility god realm kid, why would he release such a terrifying bloody aura? Even he was locked in place by the bloody aura and could not move. Kid! Humph! Longao snorted coldly. Since he had already chosen to activate the blood pool, he had to kill the old man's remnant soul and even destroy all the black puppets around him. If one did not remove the roots of the weeds, they would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Longao had always been very clear about one thing. If he did not deal with these so-called troubles, he would become incomparably troublesome when the blood pool backfired. No, I promise you that you can leave here. It's too late. Longao was no longer the same as before. With all the power of the blood pool, Longao's strength instantly soared. As for how strong he had become, even Longao himself did not know. However, Longao had a feeling that the current him could easily obliterate the old man's remnant soul with a raise of his hand. Kid, you can't kill me! You can't kill me! If you dare to kill me, my master will not let you go! Master? The old man had a master behind him? Longao already knew that the old man's true body was at the peak of the martial path. Since that was the case, the old man could be considered a true peak expert on the martial heaven continent. He stood at the same height as the heavenly Taoists. For such a person to have a master, it could be imagined just what kind of realm the old man's master had reached. However, since things had already reached this point, Longao could not stop. Die! After spitting out the word die coldly, the old man's remnant soul fell to the ground, paralyzed. He was dumbfounded because the old man already knew his fate. The bloody aura released by the other party was too terrifying. He had no power to resist at all. The other party didn't even care about his threat. Would he have a chance to survive? Chapter 1242. Longao looked coldly at the remnant soul of the old man in front of him. With the help of the blood pool, Longao released a bloody aura that even enveloped all the black skeletons around him. Die! Longao spat out the word die again. Then, a shocking scene happened. In the horrified eyes of the old man's remnant soul, he found that his body was slowly being corroded by a powerful blood pool. That's right, it was being corroded slowly. The old man's remnant soul watched his body disappear bit by bit. This kind of painful scene, not to mention the old man, no one could stay calm. In a short few seconds, the old man's remnant soul had completely disappeared. From the beginning to the end, the old man's remnant soul did not have the slightest power to resist. One must know that the old man's remnant soul's strength was at the true peak of martial arts. Even the remnant soul's strength was at the nirvana realm. But even so, the old man's remnant soul was killed in an instant. One could imagine how terrifying the power of the blood pool was. The power of the blood pool was unparalleled. After dealing with the old man's remnant soul, Longao did not hesitate at all. Because in his opinion, he had not used the power of the blood pool for a long time. No one knew when the blood pool would backfire on him. That was exactly the case. He had to deal with all the black skeletons around him before the blood pool backfired on him. If it was an ordinary person, even a Nirvana realm martial artist, it was almost impossible to destroy all the black puppets around him at the same time. The black skeletons around him were all in the supreme realm. One could imagine how terrifying the army of black skeletons was. But Longao's situation was completely different. The blood pool was a super artifact that appeared countless years ago. Even the dragon seal could not completely destroy the blood pool. It could only rely on the powerful dragon seal space to seal the blood pool. But even so, it could not destroy the blood pool. One could imagine how powerful the blood pool was. The bloody aura enveloped all the black skeletons around. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least 10 minutes for Longao to use the power of the blood pool and the blood pool to backfire. But such a large-scale envelopment, and killing countless Supreme Realm martial artists would greatly shorten the time. Kill! Longao roared, and a shocking scene happened. The countless black skeletons that were still there were instantly wiped out by the blood flow. Not a single one was left. Looking at the empty dark space, Longao sat down on the ground and panted heavily. By forcefully using the blood pool, Longao was already prepared to suffer a backlash. As for Xiling and Bailing, Longao knew that his life was in danger. If he released the seal and let Xiling and Bailing out, the two Jianling wouldn't be able to leave the dark space. As long as the Godslayer's sword was not destroyed, Xiling and Bailing would be fine. Therefore, Longao had decided that regardless of whether he was alive or dead, he could not release Xiling and Bailing for the time being. You killed my servant? Not bad at all. Longao was waiting for the blood pool's backlash. But at this time, an ancient and indifferent voice echoed around the dark space, as if it came from the depths of hell. He was startled. Longao stood up and looked around, but he didn't find anything. However, at this moment, a strange and mysterious power suddenly appeared in the entire dark space and suppressed Longao ruthlessly. Not daring to be the slightest bit careless, Longao immediately used the blood pool to release a terrifying bloody aura. The two auras fiercely collided with each other, sparks flew in all directions. Then, Longao heard a painful roar. Blood pool! Hearing the words blood pool, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Did the other party know about the blood pool? Who was the other party? In fact, in Longao's heart, He had roughly guessed that the owner of the voice that had just appeared should be the owner of the old man's remnant soul, the owner that the old man's remnant soul had just mentioned. It was very hard for Longao to imagine what kind of level the mysterious master's strength had reached. But one had to know. The old man's remnant soul was an expert at the peak of the martial path. Then, to be able to become the master of the old man's remnant soul, it was obvious how powerful the mysterious master was. Longao didn't know much about the peak of the martial path. But Longao was very clear that the peak of the martial path was divided into high and low. This was like Tian Dao and the godly mathematician. Everyone knew that the number one expert of the sky martial continent was Tian Dao, who had already broken through the peak of the martial path. But Longao knew that the true number one expert of the sky martial continent wasn't Tian Dao, but the godly mathematician. In the same peak of the martial path, Tian Dao had no chance of winning against the godly mathematician. Could it be that the mysterious master of the old man's remnant soul was comparable to the godly mathematician? The heaven-piercing stone steel slowly disappeared. The words draconic mystic realm on the heaven-piercing stone steel turned into arms and legs. As for the 10,000 soaring dragons, it turned into a body. The stone steel itself turned into blood, and a huge figure appeared. I, have been sleeping for 10,000 years. I didn't expect to encounter the blood pool divine item here. Ha, my luck is really good. I, have hope of being reborn. I, have hope of being reborn? When he heard those words, Longao had already guessed in his heart that the other party had already fallen. Chapter 1243. Ha, I'm the great Lord Black Demon. How laughable! He cursed in his heart. However, Longao knew that the giant in front of him should be a peerless expert from 10,000 years ago. He might not know, but Tian Dao and the clairvoyant should know. Even Xiling and Bai Ling should know of the Black Demon's existence. Longao, you just killed my servant. I'll give you a chance now. Longao did not speak. He also wanted to hear what the so-called Black Devil in front of him wanted to say. Hand over the Chaos Stone Tablet and the Blood Pool, and become my servant. Black Demon? Before the Black Demon could speak, Longao continued. Are you out of your mind? Or was your head kicked by a donkey? The Black Demon was stunned. The Black Demon never thought that a mere empty God realm martial artist would dare to insult him like this. In front of him, an empty God realm martial artist was no different from an ant. The Black Demon was the same as the old man's remnant soul. They had both fallen and were only remnant souls now. Even so, the Black Demon was confident. Not to mention a mere empty God realm martial artist, he would not be afraid even if a martial artist at the peak of martial arts came. The draconic arcane realm had sealed him for 10,000 years. Longao never thought that the draconic arcane realm, the forbidden area of the Dragon Clan, would be a seal that sealed such a terrifying existence. Longao could not imagine what would happen once the Black Demon broke the seal and left the draconic arcane realm. He believed that even the clairvoyant and Tian Dao might not be able to fight against the Black Demon. The remnant soul was already so powerful, let alone the original body. Longao, you? Waving his hand, Longao did not give the other party any chance to speak. He said impatiently, Whether I live or die, that's my business. What does it have to do with you? Black Demon, don't think that you can cover the sky with one hand just because you're strong. I can tell you now that I, Longao, do not take you seriously. Before the Black Demon could react, an unparalleled bloody aura exploded from Longao's body. The power of the blood pool. Before the blood pool backfired, Longao planned on trying to see if he could use the power of the blood pool to resist Black Demon. No matter what, Hayamo was too powerful, so powerful that it was a little unrealistic. Black Demon was also stunned. The other party actually took the initiative to attack him? Did he not want to live anymore? Ha! The Black Demon did not place Longao in his eyes at all. He stretched out his right hand, and a wave of energy flowed out. If it was the blood pool at its peak, I might be afraid. But now, shaking his head, Black Demon did not seem to care about the blood pool at all. How could Longao not know what Hayamo meant? It was impossible for Shuichi to reach his peak strength. After all, the current Shuichi was still sealed by the dragon seal space. It was already a blessing for him to be able to use 1/5 of his strength. However, there was nothing he could do. Black Demon was too strong. Other than using the blood pool, Longao did not know how to deal with Black Demon. But could the blood pool really resist Black Demon? The moment the huge blood pool appeared, it was slapped back by Black Demon. Longao spat out a mouthful of blood. If not for the blood pool's protection, Longao would have been slapped to death. It was shocking. Longao had already overestimated his opponent's strength, but he did not expect Black Demon to be so strong. It was a little abnormal. Was this the so-called peak of martial arts? Moreover, it was the peak of the peak. Longao was in despair. Even the blood pool could not resist Black Demon. He did not dare to believe that if Black Demon took the initiative to attack, how would he deal with it? Are you afraid? Black Demon sneered and continued. I will give you one last chance. Hand over the Chaos Tablet and Blood Pool, and I will spare your life. Moreover, you can become my great Lord Black Demon's servant. Stop dreaming. Not to mention handing over the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet and Blood Pool, Longao would never agree to become the other party's servant. Servants were like puppets. In fact, they were even worse than puppets. At the very least, puppets did not have any consciousness. However, servants had consciousness. Even though they knew they could not do it, they were ordered to do it by their master. This was something Longao could not do. If you don't accept, die. If someone else said this, Longao would definitely scoff. However, the person who said this was Black Demon, a person with unfathomable strength. Longao knew that once Black Demon attacked, he would have no hope. This was the difference between absolute strength. He had been tricked by Long Fu. Why did he enter the Draconic Arcane Realm for no reason? Take this. Black Demon did not move, but an invisible palm had already slapped over. This palm did not seem to have any strength. However, Longao did not dare to be careless. He immediately summoned the 5 Elements Slave. Even though he knew that the 5 Elements Slave could not resist, Longao still wanted to try. What if he could resist it? However, the result was, as soon as the 5 Elements Slave appeared, a palm had already landed on the 5 Elements Slave. There was no fluctuation of aura. Even a Nirvana Realm martial artist could not hurt the 5 Elements Slave. The 5 Elements Slave had already disappeared without a trace after being slapped by Black Demon. F***ck. He once again cursed in his heart. Longao was very shocked by the strength of the Black Devil. He had scattered the 5 Elements Slave with one palm. Moreover, the Black Devil was only a remnant soul. His true body had already fallen. It was really hard to imagine how powerful the Black Devil's true body was. A small energy body dares to put on an act in front of me. Longao, show me whatever trump card you have. Let me see it. Black Demon still did not take Longao seriously. In Black Demon's opinion, he only needed to move his finger to easily deal with a Void God Realm martial artist. The result was already decided. Longao did not want to continue arguing. He looked coldly at the huge figure in front of him and suddenly scolded. You look so ugly. I really don't know how your mother gave birth to you. Black Demon was stunned by the scolding. He did not think that Lin Fan would still dare to insult him when he was already at death's door. Lin Fan was simply courting death. He had seen people who were not afraid of death, but he had never seen someone who was not afraid of death to this extent. Lin Fan even said that his brain was flooded with water. Ha ha, good. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Black Demon did not want to continue wasting time. One more servant was not much, one less servant was not much. Moreover, Lin Fan was just a small void god realm martial artist. Even if he refined him into a servant, it would not be of much use. Black Demon only cared about the Kaith stone tablet and the blood pool. As for Longao's life and death, he did not care. Just as Black Demon was about to attack, Longao suddenly fainted. Before Black Demon could react, a wordless heavenly book shot out from Longao's body. Chapter 1244. The Wordless Heavenly Book. The Wordless Heavenly Book was a very tattered book. If it was placed on the ground, no one would even look at it. But now, a ray of light shot out from the Wordless Heavenly Book. A young man who looked exactly like Longao walked out. The Black Demon was dumbfounded. He didn't know what was going on. To Longao? What was going on? The Black Demon. You know me? The Black Demon was sure that the Longao who appeared now looked exactly the same as the Longao who had just fainted. However, their auras were completely different. In other words, the two Longao were completely different people. So, how did the other party know him? There was no aura at all. The Black Demon was extremely shocked. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't sense any aura from the other party. What did this mean? If he couldn't sense it, there were only two possibilities. The first possibility was that the Longao who suddenly appeared in front of him was just an ordinary person. He wasn't even a post-liminary realm warrior. But was this possible? It was impossible. The second possibility was that the Longao who suddenly appeared in front of him was stronger than him. The Black Demon swallowed his saliva as he thought of this. The Black Demon was almost certain that the Longao who suddenly appeared in front of him was extremely powerful. It was terrifying just thinking about it. May I know who you are? Do you want to know who I am? The young man smiled. This smile made Black Demon feel a little uneasy. Who was this person? The Black Demon's intuition told him that this person's identity was definitely not simple. At this moment, the young man emitted an extremely powerful aura. Sensing this aura, the Black Demon's face completely changed. He was frightened, stunned, and at a loss. All kinds of expressions appeared on the Black Demon's face. Ma. At this moment, the Black Demon even stuttered a little. Black Demon, since you already know who I am, I'll get straight to the point. Please speak, ma'am. After sensing the power, Black Demon's attitude took a 180-degree turn. His attitude was as respectful as it could be, like a mouse seeing a cat. If Longao was awake and saw this situation, who knew what he would think? Back then, I perished and my race was sealed. I will definitely avenge this debt. Black Demon was so scared that he didn't dare to speak. Hayamo was well aware of the other party's strength. He was also very clear about the battle. He also knew what kind of super experts had killed the young man. However, he was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to withstand a single move from the other party. Could it be that my lord wants me to take revenge? As if he could read Hayamo's mind, the young man sneered and said, Even if I ask you to avenge me, you won't be able to do it with your strength. With his thoughts exposed, Black Demon felt a little awkward. He smiled embarrassedly. Now that he thought about it, that was indeed the case. The other party clearly knew his strength, so how could he possibly let him take revenge? His worries were really groundless. Moreover, his original body had already perished. He was only a remnant soul now. The person you wanted to deal with just now was my 100th reincarnation. After so many years, my first 99 reincarnations ended in failure. So this time, no matter what happens, I must succeed. 100th reincarnation? His lord's reincarnation? Hearing this, Black Demon was a little dumbfounded. At the same time, he was a little scared because if he had acted quickly, Longao would have perished by now. If that was the case, would his lord let him go? Luckily, he didn't act. Until now, Black Demon still hadn't reacted. It was too sudden. My lord, what do you want me to do? Black Demon wasn't a fool. He wouldn't believe that there was nothing wrong with the other party's sudden appearance. Moreover, he couldn't provoke such a person. Even if his original body had perished, his remnant soul still existed. However, the difference in strength between them was like heaven and earth. The difference between Black Demon and the youth was like the difference between the old man's remnant soul and Black Demon. They weren't even on the same level. It's very simple. You continue to stay here. If nothing unexpected happens, the Sky Martial continent will soon fall into chaos. At that time, you just have to protect Longao's life. As for other matters, I won't interfere. So that was it. Hearing the youth's request, Black Demon heaved a sigh of relief. It was just protecting a void god. To him, this was a simple matter. My lord, don't worry. No matter what danger we encounter, I will protect Longao well. I won't let him suffer any harm. Black Demon was full of confidence. Even a remnant soul was a symbol of invincibility in the Sky Martial continent. Protecting a person was too simple. Furthermore, the youth had said that he wouldn't interfere in anything other than this matter. This was a good thing for him. My lord, do you have any other orders? No. However, Black Demon, I want to know. With your status and strength, why are you sealed here since you've entered the Sky Martial continent? Who was it that sealed you? Speaking of this, Black Demon's expression sank. A terrifying killing intent erupted from his body. To tell you the truth, my lord, when I first entered the Sky Martial continent and was preparing to search for the Primal Chaos Tablet, I was suddenly schemed against by a mysterious person. From start to finish, I didn't even know who that person was before I died. My soul was sealed here for over 10,000 years. I tried all kinds of methods, but I was unable to leave. Speaking of this matter, Black Demon felt a deep sense of helplessness. If he had an enemy, that would be one thing. At the very least, he would know who his enemy was. But now, from the beginning to the end, he did not know how he died, nor did he know who killed him. If this matter were to spread out, perhaps no one would choose to believe it. Not to mention others, sometimes even Hayamo himself would not be willing to believe it. Nodding, the youth's expression was grave. He said, According to what you said, the Sky Martial continent should have a supreme expert. Don't leave this place for now. I'll try to sense just who that expert is. Even though he was filled with unwillingness and fury, Black Demon could only agree. After all, even with his true body's power, this person had been able to do this without him noticing. It could be imagined just how terrifying this person's power was. My lord, you have to be careful. This person's power isn't simple. Yes, I won't do anything. Don't tell anyone about Longao. Just focus on cultivating here. When Longao wakes up, help me take care of him. As for the backlash from the blood pool, you can handle it. Chapter 1245. Although he was unwilling, the Black Demon still agreed. The young man disappeared, and so did the wordless heavenly book. Looking at the unconscious Longao who was lying on the ground, Black Demon was still unable to react until now. Master's 100 reincarnation? If Master did not appear and beat the Black Demon to death, the Black Demon would not believe it. Chaos Stone Tablet, sigh. He sighed deeply. When he was young, the Black Demon was killed by a mysterious person for the Chaos Stone Tablet. His soul was sealed for so many years, unable to leave the draconic arcane realm. Now that he finally found the Chaos Stone Tablet, the Black Demon did not dare to snatch it. The reason was simple. The Black Demon was afraid of the young man. Otherwise, he would not have been so respectful just now. In the dark space, time passed by slowly. After an unknown amount of time, Longao opened his eyes with difficulty and let out a painful cry. He stood up from the ground and endured the pain in his body. Longao knew that the danger of the Black Demon was not over yet. But the result? The backlash from the blood pool disappeared? He did not know what happened. Longao realized that he did not suffer any backlash from the blood pool when he forcefully used the power of the blood pool. If he did not feel it himself, would he have believed it? Black Demon. Looking at the black demon who had shrunk to his size, Longao immediately became alert. Longao was very curious. He had fainted just now. With Heimo's strength, why didn't he kill him? Longao, if I did not help, you would have become a puppet of the blood pool. As expected. In fact, Longao had already guessed that it was the black demon who helped. Otherwise, why would he not suffer any backlash from the blood pool when he forcefully used the blood pool in the empty dark space? Black demon, what do you mean? Longao did not say thank you because he did not know what the black demon meant. However, it had to be known that he and the black demon had almost reached the point of life and death. It was already very good that the black demon did not hit him while he was down. How could he help him in his hour of need and help him eliminate the backlash of the blood oath? From Longao's point of view, the black demon was not so kind. Black demon was definitely plotting something. Longao was still vigilant, ready to fight at any time, even though he knew that he was no match for the other party. Longao, I believe you should know that if I wanted to, you would already be dead. He nodded. How could Longao not know what Heimo had said? But what could he do? Longao, there are some things that you don't have the right to know now. You will slowly find out in the future. Eh? What did the black demon mean? Longao was completely confused. He didn't know what had just happened. Could it be Xiling, Bai Ling, or Long Fu? Since Black Demon didn't want to say more, Longao didn't ask. Ah? At this time, Longao was at a loss and pleasantly surprised. Seeing this situation, Heimo smiled mysteriously and said, How is it? Do you feel that something is wrong? It's you? Seeing Heimo nod, Longao was even more surprised. He didn't know why Heimo would help him. Heimo wanted to kill him just now. He was only unconscious for a while, but Heimo seemed to have changed into another person. It was too strange. Spirit Focus Realm. Longao sensed that the Void God Divine Territory in his body had already transformed into the Divine Focus Divine Territory. Longao was stunned on the spot because he knew very well what it meant for the Void God Divine Territory to transform into the Divine Focus Divine Territory. The Spirit Focus Realm meant that he had officially broken through to the Spirit Focus Realm. Longao knew that it was extremely difficult to break through from the Empty God Realm to the Spirit Focus Realm under normal circumstances. However, he had only been unconscious for a while and had broken through when he woke up. It was simply unbelievable. Is this real? Longao was confident that his cultivation had successfully broken through from the Empty God Realm to the Spirit Focus Realm. Even if he met a man-God realm martial artist, he would still be able to fight. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to do it. However, Longao's situation was completely different. The 5 realms of the Divine Path were divided into the Empty God Realm, Spirit Focus Realm, Man-God Realm, Earth God Realm, and Sky God Realm. Now that his cultivation had successfully broken through to the Spirit Focus Realm, his next priority was to reach the peak of the Sky God Realm as soon as possible so that he could break through to the Supreme Divine Path Realm as soon as possible. Longao knew very well that the Supreme Divine Path Realm and the Supreme Divine Path Realm were 2 different concepts. They weren't on the same level. Heimo, I really want to know why you are helping me. Although he didn't know how Heimo did it, Longao was still very excited because Heimo had saved him a lot of time to break through from the Empty God Realm to the Spirit Focus Realm. Under normal circumstances, who knew how long it would take to break through? At the same time, Longao was very doubtful and dignified because until now, he still didn't know what Heimo meant and why he would help him. It was a little unreasonable. Heimo smiled and said, Longao, I just said that with your current strength, you aren't qualified to know these things. As for the help I gave you, you just have to remember one thing, and that is that you owe me a favor. A favor? Does Heimo need me to owe him a favor? Heimo made Longao a little confused. What did Heimo mean? Longao was very clear about Heimo's strength. He was very clear that even if Tian Dao was here, he might not be a match for Heimo. Longao even had a feeling that Heimo's strength was even above the clairvoyant master's. Such a super expert actually helped him for no reason and even wanted him to owe him a favor. Not to mention him, even if it was someone else, would they choose to believe it? He shrugged helplessly. Heimo had already said so, what else could he do? Since that's the case, then I'll respectfully accept. Thank you, Senior Heimo. One more friend was always better than one more enemy, not to mention such a powerful super expert. Unless it was a last resort, no one would be willing to provoke an expert at the pinnacle of the martial Tao. Senior Heimo, I want to leave this place. What should I do? Longao didn't want to stay, especially after encountering Heimo. No one knew if Heimo would go crazy and continue to deal with him. Therefore, the best way was to leave this place as soon as possible. As long as he was outside, even if he encountered Heimo, he would have a way to deal with him, and that was the Dragon Seal space. Longao was very clear that even if Heimo was powerful, once he entered the Dragon Seal space, he believed that even Heimo wouldn't be able to enter the Dragon Seal space to deal with him. Chapter 1246. The Black Demon was sealed by the Draconic Arcane Realm. Longao knew very well that if he wanted to leave this place, he had to rely on the Black Demon. However, there was one thing that Longao could not figure out. Since the Black Demon was willing to help him, why not let him help him leave this place? Could it be that the Black Demon was certain that even with his help, he would not be able to break the seal of the Draconic Arcane Realm? However, since the Black Demon did not say anything, Longao did not have the time to say anything. Let's go. Before Longao could react, he was already enveloped by a mysterious force. In the next second, his body had already disappeared from the dark space. Looking at the empty dark space around him, the Black Demon let out a deep sigh. It's not easy to see the Chaos Stone tablet. There's hope to get out. What can I do? I hope I made the right decision this time. The Black Demon was very unwilling. After all, that was the Chaos Stone tablet, something that every warrior dreamed of. However, just like that, he watched as the Chaos Stone tablet disappeared before his eyes. There was no other way. He could not afford to offend the Lord. Especially when he thought of the clan behind the Lord, the Black Demon could not help but shiver. Outside the Draconic Arcane Realm. After successfully getting out, Longao finally let out a long sigh of relief. He already knew that the Draconic Arcane Realm was just a cover. The real Draconic Arcane Realm was the dark space that sealed the Black Demon. Fortunately, it was him this time. If it was someone else who absorbed the dragon blood in the blood pool and entered the dark space, they would definitely die. Just as Longao appeared, the figure of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon appeared. Looking at the young man who came out of the Draconic Arcane Realm, the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon seemed to be a little dumbfounded. According to the legends of the Dragon Clan, only the Dragon God who possessed the Dragon Pearl could enter the Draconic Arcane Realm. Otherwise, if anyone else entered, they would definitely die. But what about Longao? Not only did he enter the Draconic Arcane Realm, but he also walked out successfully. Hello, Dragon God! Longao could clearly feel that the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon at this moment was no longer the same as before. If nothing unexpected happened, the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon should have refined the Divine Dragon Pearl and his strength should have increased greatly. Hello, Longao. I didn't expect you to leave the Draconic Arcane Realm alive. The Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon really did not expect this. That was indeed the case. Longao was not angered by the Nine Firmaments Divine Dragon's confession. Instead, he smiled and said, "There are dangers everywhere in the Draconic Mystic Realm. I only managed to come out after a narrow escape." Taking a deep look at the Nine Heavens God Dragon before him, Longao continued, "Dragon God, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't think that you can enter the draconic arcane realm just because you've merged with the divine dragon pearl. I can guarantee that once you enter the draconic arcane realm, the chances of you coming out is less than 1%. Hearing this, the 9 firmament's divine dragon's expression turned grave. This was because in the history of the dragon clan, such a thing was too common. Many dragon gods, regardless of whether they had integrated with the divine dragon ball or not, would rarely find it difficult to come out of the draconic arcane realm. In other words, out of 10 people who entered the draconic arcane realm, only 3 of them would be able to come out. The rest would all perish in the draconic arcane realm. This was also why the dragon gods of the dragon clan were replaced so quickly. The 9 heavens divine dragon was also a little hesitant. Since he had integrated with the divine dragon pearl, should he enter the draconic arcane realm? After all, if he were to fall, the dragon clan would immediately choose a new dragon god. Now that he heard Longao's words, the 9 heavens divine dragon began to mutter in his heart whether he should enter or not. Just by looking at the 9 heavens divine dragon's expression, Longao already knew what the 9 heavens divine dragon was thinking. Longao, are you leaving the dragon clan? Longao did not hide this matter at all. He nodded. Longao also did not expect the things that happened in the draconic arcane realm this time. Being able to come out alive, he did not want to stay in the dragon clan any longer. I'm preparing to leave the dragon clan. Can you pass me a message to the Long family? Hearing this, Longao already knew that even if the 9 heavens divine dragon was unhappy, he still wanted to continue the alliance with the Long family for the development of the dragon clan. Longao still had a good understanding of the dragon clan. No matter what, the Long family and the dragon clan had been united against a common enemy for so many years. It was impossible for them to fall out with each other just like that. Otherwise, the 2 families would not have come to this point today. From the beginning to the end, Longao never thought that the dragon clan would fall out with the Long family completely for the sake of the divine dragon pearl. No problem. Longao continued. Dragon God, I have something that I need your help with. What is it? The 9 heavens divine dragon was very curious. He did not know what Longao needed his help with. Combined with the 3 conditions that Longao mentioned previously, the 9 heavens divine dragon would definitely not agree to it first. Dragon God, my help is very easy. I need 100 baby dragons. F***ck, he cursed fiercely in his heart. 100 baby dragons? Did Longao think that dragons were cabbages on the street that could be casually bought? Although he did not put Longao in his eyes, Longao still helped the dragon clan to find the divine dragon pearl. The 9 heavens divine dragon did not say it explicitly, but many members of the dragon clan already had a good impression of Longao. The divine dragon pearl was the most precious treasure of the dragon clan. Longao, what do you need 100 baby dragons for? It's very simple. I have already established the dragon sect. I believe you also know that I was separated from the Long family, so my people also need dragon companions. However, Dragon God, I will not ask for 100 baby dragons for nothing. I can guarantee that if the dragon clan is in danger in the future, I can help the dragon clan. Not only that. At this point, Longao did not continue, but a terrifying dragon aura suddenly burst out from his body. It was the aura of the immemorial divine dragon. As the dragon god of the dragon clan, how could the 9 heavens divine dragon not sense it? Just sensing the terrifying dragon aura burst out from Longao, the 9 heavens divine dragon was shocked. His face was filled with horror, and he shouted, "The aura of the old ancestor, Longao you. Because at this time, the 9 heavens divine dragon was so shocked that he could not even speak. Because he knew very well what the aura of the old ancestor meant. Could it be that Longao was the old ancestor? Impossible, it was absolutely impossible. 9 heavens divine dragon, I will not say any more nonsense. The reason why I can grow to this extent in such a short period of time is inseparable from the help of the old ancestor. You help me, I will also help you. It is a mutually beneficial thing. If it was not for the aura of the old ancestor just now, the Nine Heavens divine dragon might not have agreed. After all, the entire dragon clan only had tens of thousands of dragons, especially baby dragons, which were even rarer. 100 baby dragons was not a small number. But now, the Nine Heavens divine dragon thought for a moment, gritted his teeth, and finally nodded his head and agreed. Chapter 1247. Longao did not leave the dragon clan immediately. After 3 whole days, Longao only managed to find more than 100 baby dragons. The heavenly Tao sealed the dragon clan. No matter who it was, no one could enter or leave the dragon clan, unless it was the divine mathematician or Long Batian. However, Longao's situation was different. With the help of Xiling and Bailing, Longao successfully left the dragon clan. Outside the dragon clan. Brother Long, I'll tell you something seriously now. From now on, no matter what happens, you are not allowed to seal the god's slaying sword. Longao had already guessed that Bailing would say this. He smiled. Longao nodded and promised. Okay, I promise you. From now on, no matter what happens, I will not seal the god's slaying sword. Would Bailing believe it? Bailing was so kind. If it was someone else who said it, perhaps Bailing would not believe it. However, since it was Longao who said it, Bailing would choose to believe it 100%. Longao did not continue to talk to Bailing. He did not want to dwell on this issue. Not seal the god's slaying sword? What a joke. What Longao had just said would not come true. Because if something like this happened in the future, he would seal the god's slaying sword without hesitation. The reason was simple. No matter when, no matter what happened, he would not let anything happen to Bailing. Longao smoothly left the dragon clan. He did not immediately return to the dragon sect. Instead, he shot towards the Long family. The dragon clan and the Long family were not very far away. With Longao's speed, he would be able to smoothly arrive in about an hour. Long family. Longao openly entered, causing the Long family to turn pale with fright. The current Longao was no longer the same as before. His name had spread throughout the Martial Heaven continent. There was no one who didn't know him. Longao had already left his Long family and created his own dragon sect. If that was the case, why did Longao dare to enter the Long family? In the eyes of everyone in the Long family, Longao's entry this time was completely suicidal. In the lobby, Long Ditian was also surprised. He did not know why Longao had come at this time. Longao, thank you for coming. Dragon race? 2 words, the dragon clan, was enough. As expected. Just as Longao finished speaking about the dragon race, Long Ditian's expression changed, but he was still very calm. After all, the matter of the dragon race being sealed by the heavenly Tao was no longer a secret. In the entire Sky Martial continent, there was no one who did not know about it. It was normal for Longao to know. How could Longao not know what Long Ditian meant? He sneered in his heart. Without any further hesitation, Longao did not want to stay in the Long family for even a moment longer. This was because he was very clear that he had left the Long family and created the dragon sect by himself. Many people in the Long family were dissatisfied with him, and adding Long Hang, it could be said that staying in the Long family was extremely dangerous. He took out the letter and handed it over to Long Ditian. This is what the heavenly divine dragon asked me to give to you. Longao, you mean to say that you have entered the dragon race? No, since Longao had entered the dragon race, then how did he leave the dragon race? One had to know that the dragon race had already been sealed by the heavenly Tao. In this world, other than the divine mathematician, who else could break the seal and enter the dragon race? Longao did not hide anything, but he did not tell him about Xiling and Bailing. So that's how it is. I really didn't expect that you could enter and leave the dragon race by yourself. That's great. Long Ditian was very excited. Ever since the heavenly Tao had sealed the dragon race, he had been very worried about the safety of the dragon race. He did not know if the dragon race was alive or dead. Since Longao was able to leave the dragon clan alive and bring out a letter from his old companion, at the very least, it meant that although the heavenly Tao had sealed the dragon clan, it had not massacred the dragon clan. This way, Long Ditian heaved a long sigh of relief. After reading the letter, Long Ditian's expression became even more serious. Longao, I hope that you can do me a favor. It can be considered helping the Long family. How about it? Here it comes again. The moment he agreed to the heavenly divine dragon, Longao already knew that once he was involved in the dragon race and the Long family, he would definitely be in an endless amount of trouble. As expected, it had already come. Could he refuse? Although he had already left the dragon race, unless it was a last resort, Longao did not want to completely fall out with the Long family. After all, the current dragon sect was still too weak. He was extremely unwilling. Tell me about it first. Long Ditian did not mind Longao's attitude at all, and said, Longao, since you can enter and leave the dragon race, from now on, I hope that you can help me enter every 3 days to see if there's anything wrong with the dragon race. Every 3 days? Longao never thought that Long Ditian's appetite would be so big. Not to mention every 3 days, even if it was every 3 years, he might not even want to enter the dragon race. The grudge between the Long family and the heavenly Tao, the grudge between the dragon race and the heavenly Tao, what did it have to do with him? Even if the Long family and the dragon race were destroyed by the heavenly Tao, it had nothing to do with him. However, Longao would not say what he wanted to say. Longao, don't worry. I won't ask you to help for nothing. As long as you are willing, not only can the Long family let bygones be bygones, they can even help your dragon sect develop in the future. Furthermore, the Long family's ancestral hall can be opened as you wish. Longao could not resist such a temptation. He knew very well what the Long family's ancestral hall meant. If the family's disciples could enter the ancestral hall to awaken their bloodline, it would be extremely beneficial for the family's cultivation. However, Longao was not a fool. He knew very well in his heart that once he agreed, there would be endless troubles. He might even provoke the heavenly Tao. If that was the case, his identity might be exposed in advance. For him, there was no benefit at all. With his current strength, he would definitely die if he encountered the heavenly Tao. Was it worth it? Was it really worth it to offend the heavenly Tao for an ancestral hall? The Long family's hall was silent. Long Ditian did not speak, and neither did Longao. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. Time trickled by. After an unknown period of time, Longao finally opened his mouth and said, Patriarch, forgive me for being powerless. Without waiting for Long Ditian to speak, Longao continued, I believe you should know that the heavenly Tao is the one sealing the dragon race. As the #1 expert of the Tianwu continent, if the heavenly Tao finds out that I have entered the dragon race, I will be in great trouble. There is no need for me to provoke the heavenly Tao. What do you think? Long Ditian was speechless because he asked himself, if he was in Longao's position, would he agree? However, the heavenly Tao had sealed the dragon race. Other than the divine mathematician, only Longao could enter the dragon race. If Longao did not help, he would not know the situation of the dragon race. This way, they would be in an even more passive position. Chapter 1248. Longao directly refused. Although the ancestral hall was very tempting, it was not worth it to provoke the heavens for it. At the very least, he could not provoke the heavens now. He did not seem surprised at all, because in the entire Sky Martial continent, other than the divine mathematician, no one dared to provoke the heavens for the dragon race. He believed that even the divine mathematician would not casually make a move. If Longao did not agree, this matter would be very difficult. Long Ditian would definitely not be willing to give up. However, before Long Ditian could speak, Longao had already said, Patriarch, if there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. Without waiting for Long Ditian to speak, Longao had already turned and left. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared without a trace. Just as Longao left, Longbo's figure appeared. Father, Longao can enter the dragon race as he pleases, but he is not willing to help us. What should we do? What should we do? Hearing his son's question, Long Ditian's expression turned ugly. If Longao was not willing to help, he had no other choice. He could not hold a knife to Longao's neck and force Longao to help him. Seeing that his father did not speak, Longbo had already guessed. Father, if it really doesn't work, why don't we use force? I don't believe that Longao won't give in. From the beginning to the end, Longbo did not put Longao in his eyes at all. In Longbo's opinion, the reason why Longao had such achievements was that he was lucky, had someone to help him, and had peerless treasures. Other than that, his own strength was so weak that it could be bought. He had not even reached the divine Tao realm. Until now, Longbo and Long Ditian did not know that Longao's cultivation had successfully broken through to the divine Tao realm, and was even at the spirit condensation realm. In just a few short months, Longao had risen from the ninth heaven half-god to the spirit condensation realm. If the two of them knew about this cultivation speed, who knew what they would think? He waved his hand. That's not a good idea. The exalted Master God Diviner already gave orders that Longao would be able to help the clan and the dragon folk. Apparently, Longao really is something else. Long Ditian had never expected that Longao would be able to enter and leave the dragon clan by himself. The heavenly Tao was a supreme expert between heaven and earth. The Way of the Heavens was an expert at the pinnacle of martial arts. The heavenly Tao was a super expert who possessed the power of the origin. Putting everything else aside, just the heavenly way's seal on the dragon clan's origin energy was enough to make it impossible for anyone to break the origin energy seal and enter the dragon clan unless they were at the peak of the martial way. Until now, Long Ditian still could not figure out how Longao had done it. Long Ditian believed in the oracle's prophecy. But Longbo didn't believe it. Father, Longao is not willing to help. We don't know what's going on in the dragon clan. You can leave first. Since his father had said so, Longbo did not dare to stay any longer and turned to leave. Outside the dragon clan, Longao sneered, because from the beginning to the end, he had never thought of helping the dragon clan and the Long family. It was still the same sentence. Whether the Long family and the dragon clan lived or died had nothing to do with him. Heavenly Tao. No matter who it was for, Longao knew very well that he would definitely fight with the heavenly Tao in the future, but not now. For the sake of the dragon clan and the Long family, provoking the heavenly Tao was simply stupid. Not to mention himself, no matter who it was, they would not make such a choice. But in the next second, Longbo. Looking at the figure that flashed in front of him, Longao was not surprised in the slightest. He could not say who Longbo was. Whether he was an enemy or a friend was still uncertain. Longao did not hesitate at all. With a stride forward, his entire body had already shot out. The two of them were extremely fast, like two cool breezes blowing past. On a desolate mountain peak far away from the dragon clan. At the peak of the mountain, Longao and Longbo looked at each other. The two of them didn't say anything. They just stood there quietly and watched. May I know why you're looking for me? It's very simple. Longao, I hope you can agree to the family. As expected, Longao had already guessed that Longbo was looking for him this time because of what Long Ditian had said to him just now. This time, Longao did not hesitate at all. He still shook his head, expressing his rejection. Just now, he had even rejected the patriarch of the Long family, let alone a mere Longbo. Longao, other than what father promised you, as long as you agree, I can promise you that from now on, I will help you and the dragon sect with all my might. I believe you already know that if nothing goes wrong, I will become the patriarch of the Long family in the future. After saying that, Longbo did not continue, but the meaning behind his words was already very clear. If it was anyone else who said this, Longao would definitely scoff. What kind of joke was this? How could it be so simple to become the patriarch of the Long family? After all, the Long family was one of the top 10 existences in the Sky Martial continent. However, Longao did not doubt Longbo's words at all. As the son of Long Ditian, Longbo already had the advantage. Furthermore, Longbo was the #1 genius of the Long family. Even in the Sky Martial continent, he was an extremely powerful figure. If nothing went wrong, Longbo would almost be the next patriarch of the Long family. But even so, what did it have to do with him? Longao was also drunk, and said with a helpless smile, "Longbo, let's get straight to the point. I believe you know better than me what the heavenly Tao represents. I am no longer a member of the Long family, and similarly, I have nothing to do with the Long family. As for the dragon race, it has nothing to do with me, so I will not take the risk to provoke the heavenly Tao for the sake of the Long family and the dragon race. No matter who it is, Long Ditian can't, and you can't either." Without giving Longbo a chance to speak, Longao continued, "I believe that no matter who it is, they will not agree to this matter. So, forgive me for being unable to help." Longao's meaning was very clear. It was a blatant rejection. The danger of the heavenly Tao was right there. As long as one's brain was not filled with water, he believed that no one would be willing to agree. If it was any other matter, Longbo would definitely not personally appear, and he believed that Long Ditian would not appear either. However, this matter was of great importance. Not only did it concern the life and death of the dragon race, it also concerned the life and death of the Long family. If anything happened to the dragon race, the Long family would also suffer. Longbo was confident that he would become the next patriarch, and because of this, he had to ensure the safety of his family. "Longao, do you know the consequences of rejecting me?" Threat. It was a blatant threat. Longbo had the status and strength to threaten him, but Longao did not care. He sneered and said, "Longbo, don't think that the world belongs to the Long family. I will still say the same thing. I will not agree to your request. Unless the Long family can give me half of its power, and the dragon race can also give it to me, otherwise, I advise you to save your energy." Hearing this, Longbo's face instantly became angry. Longao was obviously playing with him. Was it possible for him to hand over half of his power? Chapter 1249. Regarding Longbo's strength, Longao was very clear. As the #1 genius of the Long family, Longbo's cultivation had already successfully reached the peak of the Supreme Divine Tao, which was the so-called Peak Divine Emperor. Just one step away from breaking through to the Nirvana realm. If it were others, they would definitely be very afraid. After all, the Supreme Divine Tao and the Supreme Divine Tao were two different concepts. But Longao? Without the slightest fear, he was not even afraid of the entire Long family, let alone Longbo. Being rejected directly, Longbo's face was very gloomy. "Longao, do you know the consequences of refusing?" Nodded. Longao said with a smile, "At most, we'll go to war. Ever since I left the Long family, I've been prepared. I don't have the slightest problem. When the Long family goes to war, I'll accompany. Not afraid of war." It would be a lie to say that he was not surprised. Longbo never thought that Longao did not even put the Long family in his eyes. Could it be that Longao had nothing to fear? Thinking about Longao's previous actions, Longbo was also a little afraid. If Longao really had something to rely on, then things would be troublesome. But things had already reached this point. If Longao still did not agree, where would his face be? Where would his father's face be? Where would the Long family's face be? Longao. Waving his hand, Longao's face was clearly a little disgusted. Without giving Longbo any chance to speak, he already said, "Longbo, you don't have to be like this. I won't agree to this. If you want to fight, then fight. I'll accompany you any time. Longao's tough attitude caught Longbow a little off guard. Goodbye. Longao did not continue to stay and turned to leave. Looking at the gradually disappearing figure, Longbow's face became more and more gloomy, as ugly as it could be. For so many years, no one dared to treat him like this. Not only did he reject him, he even rejected his father and the entire Long family. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Chase? Or not to chase? Longbow knew that, because of Master God Diviner's prophecy, there was no way he could kill Longao. However, there was no way he could swallow his anger. What should he do? After leaving the peak of the mountain, Longao did not hesitate any longer and shot toward the sect at full speed. 2 hours later, Longao dodged in time and looked coldly at Longhang, who had suddenly appeared in front of him. He sneered and said, "Longhang, you're a Long family's great elder. How could you do such a shameless thing?" "How shameless?" If news of Longhang's sneak attack were to spread, Longhang would probably die of laughter. However, Longhang didn't care. He had thought that dealing with Longao would be a piece of cake, and that he would be able to take care of him with just a flick of his finger. But what was the result? After such a long time, no matter what he did, Longao was still alive and well. He had completely lost his face. That was why, even though he knew that it was shameless, Longhang still attacked without hesitation. As long as he could kill Longao, this matter would not be leaked. "Longao, do you think you can leave here alive?" If it was before, even if Longao knew that he couldn't defeat Longhang, he wouldn't be worried at all. After all, he had the 5 elements slave by his side, and it was more than enough to fight against a Nirvana realm martial artist. However, when he entered the Draconic Arcane Realm, the 5 elements slave had been completely destroyed. In other words, if Longao were to face a Nirvana realm martial artist at this moment, there seemed to be no other way except to run. "Are you scared?" "Scared?" Longao smiled and said, "Longhang, aren't you overestimating yourself? Let's see." However, at this moment, Longhang's attitude suddenly changed. He said, "Longao, I know that you can enter the Dragon Clan. I'll give you a chance now. As long as you tell me how to enter the Dragon Clan, not only will I let you go, but I'll also help you. So that's how it is." Longao laughed in his heart. Whether it was Long Ditian, Longbow, or Longhang who just appeared, they all wanted to enter the Dragon Clan. He sneered. He didn't even agree to Long Ditian and Longbow's request. Would he agree to Longhang's request? "Longhang, do you think I'll tell you?" "Yes," Longhang said firmly and confidently. He continued, "Longao, I'm sure that you'll tell me. You should know the consequences of not telling me." Not only was Longhang the great elder of the Long family, but he was also a Nirvana realm martial artist. In Longhang's eyes, he could easily deal with a small Longao without any effort. "Idiot! Ha ha ha, Longao, it doesn't matter if you don't tell me. I'll make you tell me." Longhang laughed crazily. Suddenly, a terrifying chi of heaven and earth erupted from Longhang's body and fiercely suppressed Longao. However, in the next second, a terrifying chi of heaven and earth also erupted from Longao's body. The two chi of heaven and earth collided fiercely. Longhang wasn't surprised at all because many people already knew that although Longao's cultivation hadn't broken through to the Nirvana realm, he already possessed the chi of heaven and earth. After Longhang released his chi of heaven and earth, he took a big stride forward and shot towards Longao. Before he even arrived, his killing intent had already arrived. Both of his fists were also fiercely smashing towards Longao. Although Longao believed in his own strength, he also knew his own limits. If he met force with force, he would only die. Without the slightest hesitation, Longao's body suddenly disappeared. That's right, Longao's body had disappeared into thin air. This time, Longhang was completely dumbfounded. He had powerful strength, but he couldn't use it. Longao really couldn't figure out what method Longao used to disappear for no reason. Longao, I know you haven't left. But it doesn't matter. You can leave, but your dragon sect can't run away. The monk can run away, but the temple can't run away. However, Longhang wouldn't openly deal with the dragon sect. Long Ditian had already ordered that no matter who the Long family was, they couldn't touch Longao. Those who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. Not to mention others, even Longhang didn't dare to disobey. Although he and Long Ditian had always been on bad terms, he knew his own limits. His status was still inferior to Long Ditian's. Longao, get out here! Longao, you can't run away! Get out here! No matter how Longhang roared in anger, Longao didn't appear. Longhang was extremely angry, but he still couldn't do anything. After all, the other party had a super-spatial artifact. Even if he was a Nirvana Realm warrior, he still couldn't find the other party. Longhang clenched his fists tightly and looked left and right. He tried to sense with all his might, but in the end, he still couldn't find anything. He cursed fiercely. Longhang had no choice but to turn around and leave. In a short while, Longhang's figure had already disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1250. Inside the Dragon Seal Space. Longao was not worried at all because even if Longhang was a Nirvana martial artist, he would not be able to enter the Dragon Seal Space. His expression was solemn. Without the help of the 5 Elements slaves, Longao knew that once he encountered a Nirvana martial artist, he could only run away. If this continued, it would not be a solution. Longao was almost certain that if Longhang could not find him this time, he would definitely secretly deal with the sect. If this person was not eliminated, there would be endless trouble in the future. Longhang's identity and strength were there. Not only was he the great elder of the Long family, but he was also a Nirvana martial artist. It would not be easy to deal with Longhang. Longao did not immediately go out. For a full day and night, Longao repeatedly confirmed that Longhang was not around before leaving the Dragon Seal Space and quietly headed for the sect. The current Dragon sect was no longer as grand as when it was just established. According to Longao, the sect must be low-key. After all, it was an eventful time. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. If one took a wrong step, they would fall into eternal damnation. As long as there were no traitors in the Dragon sect, then no one in the Tianwu continent could find traces of the Dragon sect. Returning to the Dragon sect, Dugubai and Longing were very happy and roughly told him what had happened in the Dragon sect during this period. After listening, Longao nodded, very satisfied. There was no doubt about Dugubai and Long Ying's ability. Longao was very assured. Otherwise, he would not have handed the Dragon sect to them. Before Longao could rest, 5 uninvited guests had already arrived. In the main hall, looking at the 5 people in front of him, Longao was very shocked. He did not know how the 5 abyssal masters of the Massacre Abyss could find him. There were a total of 5 abyssal masters in the Massacre Abyss. They were the East Abyssal Master Hong Lingtong, the South Abyssal Master Yang Ling, the West Abyssal Master Luo Qingfeng, the North Abyssal Master Guoli, and the Middle Abyssal Master Yi Chen. Master Long, we only have one purpose for coming here. From now on, if you have any orders, just give the order. Hearing the 5's words, Longao was completely dumbfounded. He had no idea what was going on. What was going on? Why were the 5 of them acting like this for no reason? Although the 5 of them did not say it explicitly, Longao knew very well that the 5 of them wanted to become affiliated with the Dragon sect. Was that even possible? Longao knew that the grudge between him and the 5 Lords of the Abyss had reached the point where one of them had to die or the other would die. Under normal circumstances, they would definitely fight to determine the winner. Longao was still preparing to settle the matters of the sect and immediately enter the Slaughter Abyss. But now, it seemed that there was no need to go. Cough, cough. Gentlemen, I really want to know what happened. Master Long, you don't have to ask too much about this. Anyway, from now on, the Slaughter Abyss is affiliated with the Dragon Sect. We'll listen to everything you say. We'll go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. The 5 of them were obviously unwilling to say more, and Longao did not continue to ask. It would be a lie to say that he was not excited. Longao knew very well what it meant once he subdued the Slaughter Abyss. Although Longao was very excited, he was more or less afraid because until now, he did not know why the 5 of them would submit to him out of the blue. This was a little strange. As if he could see Longao's thoughts, Hong Lingtong said with a smile. Master Long, you don't have to be confused. If we wanted to deal with you, we wouldn't have to do this at all. It's not convenient for us to tell you the reason now. He nodded. Since they had already said so much, could Longao still choose not to believe them? Intuition told Longao that the 5 of them did not come to him for any conspiracy. Just as Hong Lingtong said, if the 5 of them wanted to start a war, there was no need to go through so much trouble. After all, the 5 of them were not only powerful, but also had the entire Slaughter Abyss as their backing. Longao was just worried that his sect could not continue to be hidden like this. But now, with the addition of the Slaughter Abyss, everything became hopeful. Master Long, what should we do now? What should they do? Longao thought for a moment and said, You all go back first. I'll tell you what to do in the future. By the way, when you go back this time, remember one thing. You must not let the 10 direction cauldrons interfere in the Slaughter Abyss. Understood. Then we'll take our leave first. The 5 of them did not continue to stay and turned to leave. Happiness came too suddenly. No matter how Longao thought about it, he still felt that this matter was a little strange. Why would the 5 Abyss Masters submit to him for no reason? No matter what, the 5 Abyss Masters' identity and strength were there. There was no need for them to do this. 7th brother, this matter is a little strange. We should be careful. Longao nodded. How could he not know about his brother's worries? Big brother, I can clearly sense that the 5 of them did not hide anything. The submission of the Slaughter Abyss this time is a good thing for our dragon sect. Since Longao had already said so, even if Longing and Dugabai still had doubts in their hearts, they could only swallow them in their stomachs. Brother Long, since the Slaughter Abyss has submitted to us, why don't we take advantage of this time to develop the sect's strength? I trust that our speed of development will be incomparably fast. Even if we can't join the 10 direction cauldrons, I trust that we'll be able to surpass all of the second-rate powers. With regards to the strength of the Massacre Abyss, Dugubai and Longing had roughly heard from Longao. There were 5 Nirvana Realm martial artists, hundreds of Supreme Down martial artists, and even Supreme Down martial artists, there were at least 30 of them. With such a powerful strength, once they helped the sect, it could be said that they were like charcoal in snowy weather, like adding wings to a tiger. However, Longao shook his head. Now is not the time. 7th brother, what do you mean? Longing and Dugabai were very curious. The 2 of them did not know why their 7th brother would not properly grasp such a rare opportunity. After all, it was unknown whether the Slaughter Abyss would be willing to submit in the future. Their meaning was very simple. They wanted to use the Slaughter Abyss as a rare opportunity to quickly develop their strength and strive to join the Martial Heaven continent. That would be the greatest advantage for their sect. However, the 2 of them were even more clear that although they were the Dragon Sect's master and vice master, the one who truly made the decisions was Longao, not them. Big brother Duga, I know what you mean, but now is not the time. The heavenly Daos have suddenly sealed the dragon race. If we choose this time to rise, I trust that the 10 direction cauldrons will unite against us. There's no need for us to take this risk. Let's wait and see. As long as the Slaughter Abyss helps us, we can act at any time. Chapter 1251. Dugubai and Longing naturally chose Longao. In their hearts, Longao was an omnipotent person. A person who had reached the divine Tao in just a few years, in the Sky Martial continent, was definitely unprecedented. At this moment, Longao's face suddenly changed. He took out a token from his bosom, and said in surprise, "Old Ancestor has finally succeeded in his reincarnation." Hearing the words Old Ancestor, both Longing and Dugabai were pleasantly surprised. The two of them were very clear what the Old Ancestor meant. 7 cycles of reincarnation. Before Long Batian entered the cycle of reincarnation, he had already succeeded in his 6th cycle. After this success, he would succeed in his 7th cycle. A martial artist who had gone through 7 cycles of reincarnation, just thinking about it made one excited. But one had to know, Long family's old ancestor, Long Tian, was only a martial artist who had gone through 9 cycles of reincarnation. As long as Long Batian continued to reincarnate, he would not be far from the 9th cycle of reincarnation. "7th brother, what are you going to do now?" "Big brother, the old ancestor and I have an agreement. As long as he succeeds in reincarnation, I will leave to find him." The two of them were at a loss. They did not know what Longao meant. He smiled. "Although the old ancestor has successfully reincarnated, but if there are no accidents, the current old ancestor, even a Xiantian martial artist, can easily kill him, so I have to find the old ancestor as soon as possible to ensure his safety." The old ancestor was very important to him. Nothing must happen to him. "7th brother, when are you going to leave?" "Right away." Longao knew the seriousness and urgency of the matter. Every minute delayed, the old ancestor would be in more danger. So, Longao immediately got up and prepared to find Long Batian. Without the token, without Long Batian's chi on the token, Longao wanted to find the whereabouts of a person in the vast Sky Martial continent, especially an unawakened reincarnation martial artist. It was simply like looking for a needle in a haystack. But Longao was not worried in the slightest. Previously, when Long Batian entered the cycle of reincarnation, he gave Longao a token. The token had his chi, that was to say, Longao could rely on the token's chi to find Long Batian. Outer Sea. In the Crystal Palace. As soon as Master Godly Mathematician returned, Long Batian appeared. "Brother Long, why are you in such a hurry? What happened?" Master God Diviner had just returned, and before he could do any calculations, Long Batian appeared. Because of that, Master God Diviner still had no idea that the Tao of Heaven had sealed the Dragonfolk. Long Batian said impatiently, "Master God Diviner, things are bad. The Heavenly Tao sealed the dragon race a few days ago." Upon hearing this, Master God Diviner's face fell. "What about the dragon race?" "The Heavenly Tao is only sealing, not massacring." Master God Diviner let out a long sigh of relief. "It seems the Tao of Heaven still fears you and me. That's why it didn't slaughter the Dragonfolk. Otherwise, the Dragonfolk would be gone by now." He nodded. Long Batian had already guessed what Master God Diviner had said. Given the Heavenly Tao's character, if not for Master God Diviner's suppression, it would have changed the power structure of the continent long ago. Now, it was only sealing the Dragonfolk. In the end, the Heavenly Tao was still afraid of Master God Diviner. "Master God Diviner, I understand what you're saying. Even so, this can't go on. The Heavenly Tao sealed the Dragonfolk, causing everyone on the continent to panic. Why is the Heavenly Tao doing this? To force Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon out." Long Batian was shocked to hear this. "Master God Diviner, you and I both know that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon fought the Heavenly Tao. Although Long Tian escaped in the end, the man and the dragon had completely fallen. Even their remnant souls might not be able to survive. The Heavenly Tao is like this." Long Batian cursed the Heavenly Tao in his heart. Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon were clearly dead. Why was it still so stubborn? Master God Diviner laughed. "What are you laughing about? Brother Long, you don't know. Back then, Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon obtained the power of the origin, but they didn't finish refining it. Instead, they fought against the heavenly Tao. If not for their arrogance, once the fusion was completed, the outcome of the battle would still be unknown. Long Batian nodded in agreement. How could Long Batian not know the strength of Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon? Countless people had cursed the man and the dragon in the battle back then. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen someone as arrogant as them. They dared to fight the heavenly Tao without even fusing with the origin energy. Just as Master God Diviner said, if the man and the dragon had fused with the origin energy, the outcome of the battle would have been uncertain. The heavenly Tao is very wary of the man and the dragon, so it won't allow the slightest mistake. The sealing of the dragon folk is to force the primordial divine dragon out. At that time, before the man and the dragon recover with Ronger's origin energy, we can destroy them in one fell swoop. Long Batian nodded. Even so, the chances of Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon surviving are close to zero. The heavenly Tao will only cause chaos on the continent. There's no benefit. How could Master God Diviner not know about Long Batian's worries? The heavenly Tao won't let that happen. Master God Diviner, if Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon don't appear, we can't continue like this. We have to think about how to deal with the heavenly Tao. The martial heaven continent had 3 peak experts on the martial path. They were Master God Diviner, the heavenly Tao, and Long Batian. In order of strength, they were Long Batian, heavenly Tao, and Master God Diviner. Long Batian was very clear that he wasn't a match for the heavenly Tao on his own. Only Master God Diviner could prevent the heavenly Tao from changing the balance of the continent. Brother Long, don't be impatient. I'll say it again. Unless the heavenly Tao can defeat both of us, it won't rashly slaughter the dragon folk. I know. It's good that you know. Since you're here, I was looking for you about something. I finally found something after leaving the continent. Long Batian was delighted to hear that. How could the heavenly Tao not know about Master God Diviner's return? However, he wasn't worried in the slightest. He hadn't slaughtered the dragon folk. Even if Master God Diviner came looking for him, he had a plan. It was just as Master God Diviner had guessed. The heavenly Tao didn't slaughter the dragon folk because it was afraid of Master God Diviner. Otherwise, in order to force Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon to appear, the heavenly Tao would definitely slaughter the Long family and the dragon folk. It was because of Master God Diviner that it could only seal the dragon folk first. It didn't even dare to seal the Long family. If Master God Diviner really did attack, the heavenly Tao wouldn't be able to stop him. That way, as long as Master God Diviner didn't interfere, the heavenly Tao would be confident in forcing Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon to appear. The heavenly Tao was truly afraid. After all, if Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon merged with their core, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 1252. Leaving the Dragon Sect. Longao carefully searched every place according to the aura of the token. It was still the same sentence. He could not waste any unnecessary time. Otherwise, the more time he wasted, the more danger the old ancestor would be in. Although a reincarnator was extremely powerful, before awakening, the danger was too great. Nothing must happen to the old ancestor. Blood Soul Valley. Blood Soul Valley was a second-rate force in the Tianwu continent, ranked first. In other words, in the entire Tianwu continent, Blood Soul Valley was the most powerful force. First and second-rate force under the 10-direction tripod. Blood Soul Valley had a total of 3 Nirvana Realm martial artists. They were the Valley Master, Di Tianxing, the Great Elder, Ouyang Buluo, and the Second Elder, Han Yunshan. In the Tianwu continent, there were very few second-rate forces that could have Nirvana Realm martial artists. Longao had never thought that the location of the token's aura was actually the headquarters of Blood Soul Valley. It was not easy to find the whereabouts of the old ancestor among tens of thousands of Blood Soul Valley disciples. What should he do? Longao did not immediately enter Blood Soul Valley, but first entered Blood Soul City to see the situation. Blood Soul City. After 3 days of understanding, Longao had a rough idea of the situation of Blood Soul Valley. 3 Nirvana Realm martial artists. He had to admit that in the Tianwu continent, almost no one dared to provoke Blood Soul Valley, unless it was the 10-direction tripod. Then again, unless the 10-direction tripod had nothing to do, the 10-direction tripod would not allow Blood Soul Valley to exist. Although the token had locked the approximate location of the old ancestor, it was extremely difficult to find the real reincarnated body of the old ancestor. That was the case. Longao prepared to start with the young Valley Master of Blood Soul Valley. The young Valley Master of Blood Soul Valley was called Renlang. He was the son of Di Tianxing and was recognized as the #1 genius of Blood Soul Valley. Renlang had broken through to the Great Emperor realm at the age of 30. He was the most promising person to break through to the Supreme Tao. Great Emperor realm martial artists were nothing in Longao's eyes. Longao did not want to alert the enemy, but he had to find a heavyweight. Otherwise, it would be difficult to find the old ancestor's whereabouts. Who are you? In a private room of a luxurious restaurant. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Renlang was shocked. Longao was dressed in black and had long blood-red hair. He gave off a cold and aloof feeling. Renlang had always been confident. He was the young master of the Blood Soul Valley, the #1 genius of the Blood Soul Valley and a great emperor. However, at this moment, Renlang had no confidence at all. The young man in front of him was too powerful. Supreme Tao martial artist, he had never thought that the young man in front of him was a Supreme Tao martial artist. Longao? Longao? Who was Longao? All of a sudden, Renlang seemed to have thought of something. His face became more and more shocked, because he already knew who Longao was. He was the one who broke into the martial artists' alliance by himself, killed the disciples of the alliance, and escaped from the hands of the 4 super strong men. Why would such a person suddenly appear? Master Long, may I know what business you have with me this time? No matter what it is, as long as I can do it, no matter how dangerous it is, I will do it. Renlang was scared silly. As the saying goes, a person's name is like a tree's shadow. All the things that Longao had done had already spread throughout the Tianwu continent. Such a person could cause a storm wherever he went. I want to find someone in the Blood Soul Valley. However, I don't want anyone to know about this, including your father. Do you understand? No problem. Master Long, may I know who you are looking for? Renlang didn't even think about it, and directly agreed. In his opinion, with his status, finding someone in the Blood Soul Valley was a simple matter. He had never thought that Longao would come to find him for such a simple matter. I don't know where the person I'm looking for is. I will follow you into the Blood Soul Valley later. You just need to gather all the disciples and I will find him. Remember, don't tell anyone about this. I will leave immediately once I find the person I'm looking for. No problem. Longao nodded in satisfaction. He followed Renlang out of the tavern and headed for the Blood Soul Valley. As the junior valley master of the Blood Soul Valley, it was very easy for Renlang to casually bring someone back. From start to finish, no one dared to ask anything. Sect leader Long, you rest here first. I'll go make the arrangements now. I believe you should know that even if I'm the young valley master, I can't just casually gather everyone. If I can't find a good reason, it will attract attention and it will be very troublesome. Longao expressed his understanding. Renlang immediately withdrew. Gathering everyone in the Blood Soul Valley truly wasn't easy. Furthermore, he couldn't let anyone know about Longao's existence. Renlang arranged a very secluded courtyard for Longao. The surrounding environment was very beautiful. From this, it could be seen that Renlang valued Longao very much. However, after thinking about it, Longao wasn't only a supreme Tao warrior, but also a legendary person who could escape from the hands of 4 super experts. Such a person couldn't be treated lightly. In the courtyard, Longao wasn't worried at all. He was very clear about Renlang's character. He was a typical example of a wise man submits to circumstances. Furthermore, even if Renlang betrayed him, what could he do? Longao had full confidence. Even if there were 3 Nirvana Realm warriors in the Blood Soul Valley, he could casually enter the Dragon Seal space and smoothly leave the Blood Soul Valley. Blood Soul Valley in a secret room. Renlang entered the secret room anxiously. The secret room, which was originally dark, suddenly lit up. The entire secret room was simply decorated. There was only a futon on the ground. A middle-aged man was sitting on the futon. The middle-aged man emitted a powerful aura. The aura of heaven and earth gathered around him. This man was none other than Renlang's father, Ren-Tianxing of the Blood Soul Valley. Langer, why are you in such a hurry? What happened? Ren-Tianxing cared a lot about his son. However, Renlang didn't disappoint. Whether it was talent or cultivation speed, he was superior. At least, he didn't embarrass Ren-Tianxing. Father, Longao is here. Who is Longao? For a moment, Ren-Tianxing didn't seem to react. Father, Longao is the master of the Dragon Sect. Previously, in the Long family, he charged into the Martial Artists Alliance alone, killed their disciples, and escaped from the hands of the 4 masters Longao. Hearing Longao's identity, Ren-Tianxing was startled. If it was the previous Longao, no one in the Martial Heaven continent would know of him. However, ever since Longao had charged into the Martial Artists Alliance alone, his name had shaken the world. As a second-rate power, how could the Blood Soul Valley not know of Longao's existence? Why has Longao come here? Ren-Tianxing didn't know why Longao had suddenly appeared in the Blood Soul Valley. Thinking of the chaos that Longao had caused in the Martial Artists Alliance, Ren-Tianxing was a bit speechless. The Grand 10-Direction Tripod Alliance had been ruined by a mere sovereign. It was hard to believe. Renlang didn't hide anything. He told Ren-Tianxing about Longao's visit. Even now, Renlang still didn't know who Longao was looking for. Ren-Tianxing's expression was grave. Even he didn't know why Longao had come. Could it really be for a single person? If it really was for a single person, then with Longao's current status and strength, he could have openly come to find Ren-Tianxing. Why would he go through so much trouble? Ren-Tianxing didn't believe that Longao had come to the Blood Soul Valley just to find a single person. Father, Longao's visit is definitely not that simple. What should we do? Langer, this is no small matter. Gather everyone first. I'll go to the Martial Artists Alliance now. Longao didn't know, and perhaps no one knew, that the Blood Soul Valley was actually a subsidiary of the Martial Artists Alliance. A few years ago, Ren-Tianxing had successfully established a connection with Shanghai Yi. Therefore, Ren-Tianxing was very clear about the enmity between Longao and Shanghai Yi. If this matter was passed to Shanghai Yi, it would only benefit him. Without any hesitation, Ren-Tianxing immediately got up and left the Blood Soul Valley. He rushed to the Martial Artists Alliance as fast as he could. As a Nirvana Realm warrior, Ren-Tianxing's speed was very fast. He arrived at the Martial Artists Alliance in a few hours. Brother Ren, why are you looking for me in such a hurry? Until now, Shanghai Yi still didn't know that Longao had entered the Blood Soul Valley. Previously, he had waited in the valley for 3 months. Shanghai Yi almost went berserk. In the end, he still couldn't find Longao. Brother Shengguan, I have a very important matter to discuss with you. I already know about the enmity between you and Longao. Previously, you didn't find any trace of Longao, but I know where Longao is now. The Dragon Sect? Shanghai Yi already knew that Longao had successfully returned to the Dragon Sect. However, the situation was different now. Even he couldn't openly attack the Dragon Sect. Brother Shengguan, Longao is not in the Dragon Sect. Looking at Ren-Tianxing in front of him, Shanghai Yi's heart skipped a beat. He knew Ren-Tianxing's character very well. If it was such a simple matter, Ren-Tianxing would not come in person. Could it be that Longao was not in the Dragon Sect at all? Ren Tianqing seemed to be able to guess what was on his mind. He nodded and said, "Brother, I don't know why Longao suddenly came to the Blood Soul Valley." Ren Tianqing then told him what had happened. After listening to him, Shanghai Ye immediately stood up. His face was full of surprise. He had never expected that Longao would suddenly go to the Blood Soul Valley. He was asking for trouble. Even if Longao was beaten to death, he would not know about the relationship between the Blood Soul Valley and the Martial Artists Alliance. He would also not know about Ren Tianqing's relationship with him. Chapter 1253. If Longao had been holed up in the Dragon Sect, he would not have been able to do anything. However, Shangguaniye was pleasantly surprised now. "There's a path to heaven, but you chose to barge into hell. Brother Shangguan, what should we do now?" Ren Tianqing did not believe it before. After all, with Longao's status and strength, how could he be an enemy of Shangguaniye? He was simply courting death. However, Ren Tianqing believed it now. That was indeed the case. Ren Tianqing could not figure out why Longao would choose to go against Shangguaniye. However, Shangguaniye was not only the deputy chief of the Martial Artists Alliance, but also a Nirvana Realm martial artist. His strength was above Ren Tianqing's. It would be a piece of cake for such a person to kill Longao. No matter what, Longao must die this time. Brother Shangguan, there's something I'm curious about. No matter how powerful Longao is, if you want to deal with him, it's almost... Before Ren Tianqing could finish speaking, Shangguaniye's face darkened. Longao was a humiliation that he could never forget. Just as Ren Tianqing had said, with his strength and status, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill Longao. However, what happened in the end? Longao has a space divine device that can make him disappear automatically. Therefore, we have to be careful this time. We can't let him leave. It turned out to be a space divine device. Ren Tianqing knew very well what a space divine device meant. At this moment, he finally understood why Longao was so powerful. It turned out that he had a space divine device. Brother Shangguan, since Longao has a space divine device, it will be difficult for us to deal with him. Humph, I'd like to see how he can escape from under my nose this time. In the Blood Soul Valley, Ren Lang, the young master of the Blood Soul Valley, had gathered all the disciples in the Blood Soul Valley at the square. Everyone was very curious about what the young master was going to do. However, no one dared to not come. After all, Ren Lang's status was there. What do you think young Valley Master wants? Who knows? You guys, why do the young man beside the young Valley Master look so familiar? Although Longao's name had spread throughout the Martial Heaven continent, there were very few people who had actually seen him. At the square. Ahem, Brother Long, these are all the disciples of the Blood Soul Valley. Who are you looking for? Until now, Ren Lang still did not know who the person Longao was looking for was. In fact, even Longao himself did not know who the reincarnated body of the ancestor was. He could not find the ancestor just by sensing the aura. He could only rely on the token to sense the old ancestor's aura. Come with me. Taking out the token from his bosom, Longao walked into the crowd and began to sense each and every one of them. It was the stupidest method, but it was the only way to find the patriarch in the shortest time possible. Ren Lang followed behind Longao with a respectful attitude, like a mouse seeing a cat. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Because no one knew who the young man was and why the young Valley Master would be so respectful towards him. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not believe it even if they were beaten to death. The young Valley Master, Ren Lang, was not only the son of the Valley Master, but also the #1 genius of the Blood Soul Valley. At the age of 30, he had successfully broken through to the gold-grade Great Sovereign Realm. Everyone was optimistic that the young Valley Master would be able to trigger the Divine Tribulation within 3 years and reach the Divine Tao Realm. Everyone was very clear that even if the young Valley Master met the two elders, he would not be like this, let alone a youth of unknown origin. What was going on? At this moment, everyone was a little dumbfounded, but no one dared to say a word. The reason was simple. No one was a fool. Since the young valley master was so respectful towards this person, they could imagine that this person's identity was definitely not simple. If they were unlucky, wouldn't they be dead? Ren Lang followed behind Longao, not daring to say a word. He knew very well that although this was the Blood Soul Valley, his territory, and there were 3 Nirvana Realm martial artists, he did not dare to act recklessly. Once Longao went crazy, who could stop him? However, the Martial Artists Alliance was one of the 10 tripod forces, far above the Blood Soul Valley. In the Tianwu continent, who dared to provoke the Martial Artists Alliance? Because of this, not only did Longao barge into the Martial Artists Alliance alone, he even killed dozens of Martial Artists Alliance's Supreme Dao martial artists. Such a person was completely crazy. If Longao was a Nirvana Realm martial artist or an expert at the peak of the martial Dao, it would be fine. But the worst thing was that Longao was only a great sovereign realm martial artist. He was only a Supreme Dao martial artist now. A great sovereign realm martial artist barging into the Martial Artists Alliance alone and killing their disciples was abnormal. That was exactly the case. Ren Lang was very worried. He was afraid that Longao would go crazy and attack the sect. At that time, it was still unknown who would be able to stop Longao. After all, Longao had disappeared under the eyes of the Four Master. Longao was very depressed. Even if he had the token and could sense the ancestor's aura, he did not know how long it would take to search one by one. After all, the Blood Soul Valley had tens of thousands of disciples, not counting the protectors and elders. If this continued, it would be impossible to not be noticed by the higher-ups of the Blood Soul Valley. However, Longao was certain that the ancestor's reincarnation was definitely not a protector or elder. It should be an ordinary disciple. Searching for tens of thousands of ordinary disciples one by one was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, Longao only had one token and could not search a large area. It was simply depressing. There was no other way. Longao did not want to waste even a minute. He had to find the ancestor as soon as possible. The Blood Soul Valley was the same as other sects. It was incomparably competitive. With the ancestor's reincarnation strength, there were many people who could kill him. Master Long, have you found him? Do you need my help? Longao did not speak for a whole hour. He was constantly shuttling back and forth between each person. From the beginning to the end, Ren Lang did not know what Longao wanted to do or who he was looking for. The person I am looking for is very important to me. I still have the same words. There is no enmity between me and the Blood Soul Valley. So, as long as I find the person I am looking for, I will immediately leave. Hearing this, Ren Lang let out a long sigh of relief. He was most afraid that Longao would attack the Blood Soul Valley. At that time, provoking a super killer for no reason was not worth it. As long as I do this, you just have to help me look after it, and don't let anyone leave. After this matter, I will properly thank the Blood Soul Valley. Chapter 1254. Ren Lang shrugged helplessly. Since Longao had said so, Ren Lang could only do as he was told. Blood Soul Valley. In the main hall, Ren Tianqing and Shangguaniye returned safely. Together with the 2 Nirvana Realm elders of Blood Soul Valley, there were 4 Nirvana Realm martial artists in Blood Soul Valley. Not only that. To ensure that they could kill Longao, Shangguaniye brought 4 Supreme Divine Path martial artists. Together with the 6 Supreme Divine Path martial artists from Blood Soul Valley, there were 10 Supreme Divine Path martial artists in total. Brother Shangguan, with so many of us working together, I don't believe that Longao can escape. If it weren't for Shangguaniye, Ren Tianqing would never have provoked Longao. After all, Longao was famous for being crazy. He dared to create the Martial Artists Alliance, and killed the disciples of the Alliance. It was obvious what kind of person Longao was. However, the situation now was completely different. On one side was Longao, and on the other side was Shangguaniye. Whether it was in terms of strength or status, Ren Tianqing would choose Shanghaiye over Longao without hesitation. Ren Tianqing nodded. Shangguaniye's face was full of confidence. Looking at the glass ball in her hand, she said with a smile, "Longao has a space artifact. As long as I interfere with the space fluctuation, I'd like to see how Longao can disappear." As everyone knew, Longao's biggest reliance was the space artifact. Back in the Martial Artists Alliance, Longao had used the space teleportation to disappear under the eyes of the Four Master. "Brother Shangguan, when shall we act?" Ren Tianqing was a little impatient. He couldn't wait to act immediately. After all, Ren Tianqing had been sucking up to Shangguaniye. After all, Shangguaniye's identity was there. Others might not know, but the higher-ups of Blood Soul Valley knew that the reason why Blood Soul Valley could develop to such an extent was all because of the Martial Artists Alliance. Without the help of the Martial Artists Alliance, Blood Soul Valley wouldn't have achieved what it had today. They couldn't defend the Martial Artists Alliance. Remember, surround all directions. No matter who it is, if you let Longao go today, I won't show any mercy. I'll kill you. Upon hearing Shangguaniye's words, the surrounding people were startled. To provoke Shangguaniye, did water enter Longao's brain? No one could figure out why a mere dragon sect leader would dare to provoke the deputy chief of the Martial Arts Alliance. He was simply courting death. In Front Hall, the huge square was densely packed with people. There were at least tens of thousands of people. Longao was very fast. In about 6 hours, he had already sensed once with the help of the token. But the result was that he found nothing. Standing in the middle of the crowd, Longao felt extremely helpless. Even if he had the token, what could he do? He still couldn't find the reincarnated body of his ancestor. What should he do? Ren Lang stood behind Longao. Seeing that Longao didn't say a word, he didn't dare to say a word. "Master Long." Longao waved his hand. He was very confused. He didn't know why, but he had a bad feeling. It seemed that there was some danger. In the next second, before Ren Lang could react, Longao's figure flashed and appeared behind him. "Master Long, Longao, you're still so arrogant." Looking at Shangguaniye, who suddenly appeared in front of him, Longao already knew what had happened. Ren Lang betrayed him. Blood Soul Valley betrayed him. Although Longao had guessed that Blood Soul Valley would betray him, he never expected that Blood Soul Valley would ask Shangguaniye to come. The aura released by Shangguaniye had forced a path out. Looking at the Valley Master in front of them, no one knew what was going on. However, under such circumstances, no one dared to move recklessly. This was because everyone had a feeling that if they moved even a little, they would definitely be killed by the Valley Master. Shangguaniye, the deputy chief of Martial Artists Alliance, Ren Tianqing, the first elder, and the second elder of Blood Soul Valley, the 4 Nirvana Realm warriors released their aura of heaven and earth at the same time. No matter who dared to move, they would be killed immediately. The 4 of them didn't dare to be careless. After all, Longao had a space artifact. What if he ran away? Putting the others aside, Shangguaniye was willing to sacrifice the entire Blood Soul Valley in order to kill Longao. However, Shangguaniye wouldn't tell Ren Tianqing and the others what she was thinking. "So what if I'm arrogant? What does it have to do with you?" Looking at Longao, Ren Tianqing and the others swallowed hard. They had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen such an arrogant person. Who was Shangguaniye? The deputy chief of Martial Artists Alliance was considered to be at the top of the Tianwu continent. But even so, Longao still didn't take Shangguaniye seriously. At this moment, Ren Tianqing and the others finally knew why Shangguaniye hated Longao to the core. If they were in Shangguaniye's shoes, they would probably do the same. "Ha ha ha, Longao, I know that you have a space artifact that allows you to disappear at will. But today, I would like to see how you're going to disappear in front of me. Just now, Longao had already tried. He was indeed unable to enter the dragon seal's space, but he could use space teleportation. As for the reason, he had already guessed. It seemed like Shangguaniye and the others had used the space artifact to interfere with the fluctuations in the surrounding space. No matter what, in this battle, Longao was very clear that if he were to relax or be careless, he would fall into eternal damnation. Therefore, in this battle, he absolutely could not lose, and he could not afford to lose. Longao, are you afraid? You're Rentianxing of the Blood Soul Valley? So what if I am? Rentianxing didn't take Longao seriously at all. As long as Longao couldn't use the space artifact to disappear, then killing Longao would be a piece of cake. However, in the next second, Rentianxing's eyes narrowed and his face became extremely gloomy. He said coldly, Longao, let go of Langer. I can do it. Before Rentianxing could finish his words, Shangguaniye said coldly, Shut up. Longao will die today. Renlang, so what if he dies? So what if he dies? Hearing Shangguaniye's words, Rentianxing was extremely angry. Although he had a few sons, he was most satisfied with this one. He was almost certain that as long as Langer continued to cultivate, he would definitely surpass him in the future. But what could he do? Shangguaniye had already said this. Rentianxing was very clear that if he insisted on doing things his own way, he believed that Shangguaniye would definitely deal with him in the future. There was no doubt about it. Was it really worth it to provoke the Martial Artists Alliance for a son? It wasn't worth it. However, Rentianxing was very unwilling. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have told Shangguaniye about this. Chapter 1255. Rentianxing sighed in his heart. Rentianxing knew that he would not be able to save his son this time. It was impossible for him not to resent Rentianxing. Rentianxing did not dare to say anything. Looking at Rentianxing, Longao smiled and said to Renlang, This is your father. Renlang did not say anything. As the young master of the Blood Soul Valley, there were some things that he knew very well. Between him and the sect, there was no doubt that his father would definitely choose the sect over him. He felt a little desperate. Renlang knew that he would definitely die in this situation. Seeing that Renlang did not say anything, Longao sneered and said coldly, Shangguaniye, do you think that you have one? Am I not? Shangguaniye asked. In Shangguaniye's opinion, he had used his divine tool to disturb the surrounding space fluctuations, and it was impossible for Longao to disappear with the help of his divine tool. In that case, with his own strength and the help of everyone, Longao would definitely die. Both parties did not continue talking. They looked at each other and a battle was about to break out. The surrounding disciples of the Blood Soul Valley stood still and did not dare to move. Time ticked by. No one knew how much time had passed. At this moment, Renlang, don't blame me. I have already said that this matter is not to be leaked. Otherwise I will kill you. Winner takes all. I did not expect that my father would do this. Renlang closed his eyes tightly. He already knew what was going to happen. However, he did not dare to hope that his father would save him. Between the sect and himself, his father would definitely choose the sect. Crack. Renlang's body slowly fell to the ground. Longao did not refine Renlang's soul because Renlang was a good person. It was to show his respect. Longao, you only have yourself to blame, you can't blame anyone else. Rentianxing was rendered speechless by Longao's words because he knew that he had only himself to blame for this. If he hadn't told Shangguaniye that Longao had entered the Blood Soul Valley, then Shangguaniye wouldn't have come and his son wouldn't have died. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame himself. Longao, I will definitely have my revenge. You! If it was an ordinary person, seeing four Nirvana realm martial artists joining forces, they would surely be terrified. However, Longao was not worried at all. The more he was like this, the more worried Shangguaniye felt. After all, Longao's previous actions were still vivid in her mind. Shangguaniye seemed to be impatient. She said coldly, "Kill him!" As soon as Shangguaniye finished her words, 10 supreme Dao martial artists appeared behind her and shot towards Longao. According to Shangguaniye's previous plan, they would use the artifact to interfere with the spatial fluctuations and lock onto Longao's position. As for the 10 supreme Dao martial artists, they would join forces to besiege Longao. No matter how powerful Longao was, he was still a spirit-focused martial artist. 1 against 10. How could a puny spirit-focused martial artist withstand the combined might of 10 supreme Dao martial artists? After thinking about it, Longao was doomed. However, would Longao be afraid? In the next second, 10 people appeared in front of Longao. They were the 10 elders of the 9 Netherbird clan. The 10 of them were all supreme divine Dao warriors, and they were all corpse slaves. Not to mention their own strength, just their immortal body alone was not something that the 10 of them could contend against. After all, if one wanted to kill a corpse slave, unless there was a great disparity in strength, it was very difficult to successfully eliminate it completely. 10 against 10. In a situation where they were evenly matched, Longao's 10 corpse slaves had a complete advantage. In just a few seconds, the 10 corpse slaves had suppressed the 10 of them and successfully killed one of them. Looking at the scene in front of them, Shangguaniye and the others were completely dumbfounded. "Kill this person. In the future, I will do my best to help Blood Soul Valley and deal with the other 2 forces." His son was dead. Ren Tianxing knew that even if he had endless resentment in his heart, what was destined. Since it could not be changed, he had to fight for more benefits for the survivors. Thinking of this, Ren Tianxing did not continue to hesitate. He gave the 2 elders a look. Then, the 3 of them shot towards Longao at the same time. As for Shangguaniye, he coldly stood where he was. From his point of view, the 3 of them were more than enough to deal with Longao. As long as he stood there, no matter which direction Longao ran to, he would be able to immediately intercept and kill him. Longao kept retreating. With the help of spatial teleportation, his body kept changing positions. His hands grabbed the surrounding disciples of Blood Soul Valley and threw them one by one at the 3 elders as if they were balls. Longao's strength was very strong. If it were Shangguaniye, she would not care about the lives of these people. In Shangguaniye's opinion, as long as they could kill Longao, it would be worth it even if they had to sacrifice the entire Blood Soul Valley. However, the 3 of them did not think so. If all the surrounding disciples died, the Blood Soul Valley would definitely suffer a disastrous decline in the future. If the Blood Soul Valley's strength was only in name, would Shangguaniye and the Martial Artists Alliance still support the Blood Soul Valley? Regardless of whether others believed it or not, the 3 of them did not believe it. The 3 of them tried their best not to kill the disciples of the Blood Soul Valley. Longao was smart. Although he threw the surrounding disciples out one by one, he did not kill them. In this way, the 3 of them would have a better chance. Seeing this, Shangguaniye instantly understood what Longao was thinking. She said angrily, "You 3 good-for-nothings. If you continue like this, I will destroy the Blood Soul Valley immediately." Hearing this, the 3 of them were shocked. They did not dare to provoke Shangguaniye casually. After all, Shangguaniye's identity and strength were obvious. If Shangguaniye really wanted to deal with the Blood Soul Valley, the Blood Soul Valley would have no chance at all. Gritting their teeth, the 3 of them looked at each other. They could see from each other's eyes that they were angry but did not dare to say anything. They had no choice. The Blood Soul Valley was only a second-rate force. They were not on the same level. If the Martial Artists Alliance wanted to deal with the Blood Soul Valley, the Blood Soul Valley would not have any power to resist. For the sake of the Blood Soul Valley, the three of them could only grit their teeth and sacrifice some of their disciples. However, in the next moment, Longao's speed increased significantly. Coupled with the spatial teleportation, his speed was so fast that the three of them could not catch up with him. In this way, whenever Longao threw out a disciple, the three of them would die without any resistance. If he threw out a disciple, the disciple would die. If he threw out another disciple, the disciple would die again. At this rate, it would not be long before all the surrounding disciples were killed. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.